You know when they say this person does not need introduction? Well, this is one of the persons we have with us today, and I will still introduce him. This is five-time All-American, ACC Champion, ranked top 10 on UVA lists of all time in every throwing event except javelin. He is the strongest man in almost every weight room he walks in. Always lights up the room. He is smart, humble, and just all-around awesome guy. He was, is, and always will be a crucial part of UVA throws. Ladies and gentlemen, Pobo Efekoro.
Where's my dog? Lightweight the man!
Guys, this is Pobo Efekoro. Best throwers of all time at UVA. Undoubtable, right? And Pobo, thank you for your time today.
Absolutely, Coach. It's a pleasure. Well, you know, never too busy for UVA. So
awesome. Well, thanks. How's everything? Obviously, DC has some issues with coronavirus. How's everything on your end?
So everything is okay. I think first and foremost, you know, me and my roommate were very happy that we've been healthy. We've been quarantining for the last 6-7 weeks, and neither of us have contracted the virus. So we've been very careful in how we move about, going to do grocery shopping, and you know, we have masks at home, and you know, we're very judicial as to how we go about just moving around. I think one of the things that we're experiencing is obviously there's, you know, when you go to supermarket, there's lines to go into the supermarket and get food. So we know that. You know, so, and you know, state of Virginia, we're still under a stay at home order until I think June, something like that. So this is going to be our way of life for another 4 weeks at minimum. Okay. And even for work, right? It's going to be a very slow process for us to migrate back into the office. So I expect that I'm probably going to be working from home for the next, at least for the foreseeable future, 4 to 6 weeks at minimum. But you make do with what you can. I miss the office. I only live 5 minutes away from my office.
Okay, so you can walk.
So, well, not walk, a 5-minute drive. But you know, you do what you can, right? And I'm just blessed that everybody's that I know is healthy. I haven't met or heard of anyone in, you know, my inner circle or friend circle who's contracted the virus. So I'm happy that everybody's doing well.
Yeah. How you were handling? You're an outdoor kind of guy. How is this affecting you?
Oh, I'm going insane. I hate being indoors. Yeah. You know, especially around this time where the weather's so beautiful, you want to go outside, you want to train. So yeah, it's really tough to be stuck inside. So, and I've it's very easy to fall into the habit of not going outside as well, right? Like you work all day, you're like, oh, I don't feel like walking outside and taking a walk, right? It's bad, right? So one of the things that I've been trying to do over the past couple of weeks is get out of that habit, right? Okay. Slowly starting to work my way back into training on a consistent basis, right? Even if it means, you know, just going on a run for 1 mile, or you know, going for a walk to get a breath of fresh air, or you know, trying to see what circles are open in Northern Virginia that I can go throw at, right? Yep. I think those things are important. I think trying to get back to normalcy is critical, right? Because you know, like the Olympics for 2020 has been canceled, right? But 2021 is, you know, next year. So the goal is to prepare for the 2021 season, right? Yeah. So last week I went out and threw for the first time in like 5-6 weeks.
Okay. How was that? Yeah.
Actually, it was better than I thought. Okay. Yeah, for the most part, like I was moving pretty well. You know, I was moving pretty well. I had some pretty good throws with I think a 13-pound shot. So that's probably what I'm going to start throwing for the next month, just to break my way back into it. But yeah, like I felt pretty good, surprisingly, because I thought that you sit down all day in your chair, you'd be super tight. But no, I went to the ring and I was moving pretty well. Obviously, there's going to be some technical things I'm going to have to work out, you know, over the next couple of, you know, next month or so. But so it was a great starting point for having to prepare for 2021. So I'm very excited. So yeah, that's really good.
So How is it? Let's start from the beginning. We have a lot of questions for you already, but one of the main questions that people always wanted to hear is how did you get into throwing in the first place? You're a big guy. Why don't you play football? So yeah, why track?
Yeah. So I got into track my sophomore year of high school. So what happened was, I love telling the story. I was playing football, tag football, flag football in a gym class, right? In the 10th grade. And one of the track coaches noticed, I guess, my athleticism. And he was like, "Oh, this guy's moving. Like, is he a sophomore? Is he a junior? Is he a senior?" And one of the guys on the team was like, "No, coach, he's a sophomore." He's like, "He's a sophomore? Yeah, get this guy on the team." So he approaches me. He's like, "Hey, man, like, why don't you come out for track and field?" I laughed at his face. I was like,
"What is track? What do you mean by track?
Track? You want me to run?" He's like, "No, not run, throw." So I'm like, "Oh, you mean the shot put? You spin around, you throw." He's like, "Yeah, there you go." So he wanted me to come out for indoor season, but I couldn't because I was on the junior varsity basketball team.
Oh, okay.
So for those who don't know,
that's
I
right.
played 2 years of JV basketball before I went to track. So a lot of miles and a lot of cardio. Oh, a lot of miles and a lot of cardio on those legs. So I'm just like, okay, all right, well, yeah, like I'll come out during outdoor season. And a lot of people thought that, oh, like he doesn't mean it, right? A lot of basketball guys, they say they're gonna come out for track and field, and they didn't, right? But I actually came out, like when the basketball season was over, like 2 days later, I went out to the track, and learned how to start, went through plyometrics and stuff, and learned how to start throwing the shot put. So that's how I got into it. And now it's funny because like I did very well my sophomore year, right? Like I got to cities in the shot put and a discus, and I was very close. I was very close to getting to the state championship in the discus. I threw like, what did I throw? I threw 129 feet in a discus.
Was that a stand throw?
Stand throw.
Okay.
I didn't know how to spin yet. So, but I threw 129 from the stand. And I was like, if I had finished second at cities, I would have gone to states. But I think I finished fourth that year. So kind of a bummer. So I'm like, okay, all right, it was a great season. So I did pretty well at cities in the shop. I think I finished like 7th or 8th. I can't remember. And then during the summer, it was an election year, right? Because Obama was running for re-election. So I decided as a kid, let me go volunteer for his campaign, right?
Nice.
So I'm supporting his re-election campaign in 2016, and I'm done. That's long hours, right? I'm exhausted. I come back to school, and I want nothing to do with track, right?
Yeah.
I just want to be a normal student, and I've been trying to avoid the indoor track coach for the longest time. Like I didn't want to see him.
Okay.
And one day I walk out of the bathroom, and there he is, just staring at me, right? I just walked into him by accident. It's like, "Hey, Bo, we need you on the team. You can do good." And I'm like, crap. And I joined the team. I joined the team and went to the state championships at indoor season. Through, what did I throw? 50 feet 10 as a glider through 50 feet 10.
Yeah.
And then outdoor season, I won my first city championship as a junior. That year, I threw 56 feet from a stand throw.
That's really good. That's really good.
And I threw 18 meters at the state championship that outdoor season.
Wow. Yeah.
So I just had a great day. Really, had a good feel for technique, and then that was one of the greatest. That was a really incredible state championship because think about all the throwers that are throwing professionally now that are not throwing professionally, but the amount of collegiate throws that competed at that meet, right? Ben Bonhurst, Eric Favors, Noah White, who threw for UPenn, Billy Bishop, also a guy who threw for UPenn. So Devon Patterson, who threw for Buffalo. So you had a lot of Division I throwers, that year, and and then the next year too. So and then the call started coming in, and then track pretty much became a full-time job. So so that's my 2-year story of how I became a track and field athlete.
So you were hooked then. So you were hooked to track, I guess.
Yeah.
After that, in terms of and how different or how was recruiting process for you now, knowing what you know now, what would you do differently, or what were some difficulties that you went through? Because obviously you're very talented, but you haven't thrown it nearly as far as you should have, because you didn't train much, right?
Yeah.
At this point, so how was recruiting for you?
So recruiting wasn't too bad, right? I wasn't getting recruited by like your big name schools in the SEC or the Big Ten. I think Iowa might have reached out to me, but I already signed with UConn after they reached out to me, so I wasn't going to decommit. Yeah, like I'll tell you, some of the schools. One of the first schools that reached out to me was Cornell. And it's funny because I kind of reached out to them first, right? Like I filled out the questionnaire forms, and the next thing you know, I get a phone call from the coach the next day. So it goes to show you that if you're watching those questionnaire forms, coaches look at that, right? That's serious, right?
Yep.
Because I filled out those questionnaire forms, and like a day or 2 days later, coach would call me and say, "Hey, man, like I saw you fill out this form. Are you interested in UMBC? Are you interested in Cornell? Are you interested in Villanova, right?" Yeah. So those forms are really important. So Cornell recruited me, and then after Cornell, I think University of Vermont talked to me. If I filled out a questionnaire form for them, and then some of the letters started rolling into like the Naval Academy sent me a letter. Columbia reached out to me, but the issue of Columbia is that obviously I was a B student in high school, right? Like I wasn't like an A student, so having grades was kind of a stretch to get into a university like that. And not to say I didn't care enough about school, but it was just like I had so many other activities that I was doing that there's only so much you can do that can dilute from your academic performance, right? So you had so many other schools, so it wasn't too bad, right? Like I had about 7 or 8 schools reach out to me, but like I said, it wasn't any of the big name schools, right? Like I didn't have anyone from the ACC reach out to me, or the Big Ten, the SEC, the Pac-12. I think the only Power 5 school that reached out to me was Iowa, and they reached out to me after I committed. So at the end, I think it came down to UConn versus Cornell, and I just didn't think I was sure enough that I could get into Cornell with the grades that I had. So I chose UConn, and my mom and I went to UConn, and it was a beautiful campus, so we really liked it a lot. So it made a lot of sense. So so the recruiting process wasn't too bad.
Yeah. Now, I like that you mentioned that how you fill out the questionnaire, and it's definitely something that coaches, as coaches, we do check. And this is a little bit before kind of social media, all the craziness that started happening in terms of throwing and everything else. 2015, 16, 17. We don't have access as coaches to go. We don't have ability to go and see all of you throw, right?
That's true.
So your marks were deceiving. So you threw far, but you didn't throw really far, right? Coaches, like you see the name on the paper, and you're like, 50, 56, 58, whatever, right? It's good, but it's not. At the time when I was here, we had Philip already, right? So we had someone like Jordan coming up. So it's not a guy,
no,
right?
It makes sense. Yeah,
70 plus, right? But what I didn't know is what I found out later, how incredibly talented you are, and you threw that with almost a stand throw, right?
Yeah, my personal best in high school was from a stand throw, through like 60 feet, 9.
So filling out that questionnaire helps a lot, because we didn't have the questionnaires at the time. There was one or a couple of years we didn't send them out, so we missed you, but we didn't miss Christine, right? So
there you go. Yeah,
we didn't see this. Same thing. I didn't see her. I never saw her throw. We received a questionnaire from a girl and says, 41, pole vault. I'm like, okay, let me check this out, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't get that with you. So yes, questionnaires are very important, guys. If you listen to this, Pobo just give you a very good advice. They're very important for coaches to get to know you. If you're not, putting your numbers on social media, or they're not like this year, you're not able to throw, right? So
that's true.
Juniors this year, they're not able to compete. So that's a really tough thing, right? So you have to kind of find ways to reach out to the coaches. And you're very modest. You're a very good student. Obviously, the reason you didn't have time because you were doing all these things and you were playing chess.
Yes.
Playing chess really well. So
Yes.
tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I have a background as a chess player. I was let me start off by saying that my middle school chess team is the best middle school chess team in the country, right?
Yeah.
I lost count as to how many national championships they win because
Nice.
I can't remember, right? Like they've probably won another 50 or 60 more after I've left.
Wow.
I 18. So,
Yeah.
best middle school chess program in the country. So good that they had a documentary film made about them,
Yeah.
right? Which is called Brooklyn Castle. So, which chronicles the program, throughout 1 year, which is my 8th grade year at I 18. A very good movie. So yeah. So when I was at I 18, I was a part of 5 national championship chess teams, and I'm very proud of that. Very happy for all the things that we were able to achieve while we were there. But most importantly was the opportunity to become a coach, right? And I got hired as a chess coach, as an assistant coach to my middle school, my first year of high school. So I remember January of 2011, right, was like the first year that I started working as an assistant chess coach. It involves mainly, you show for the kids the tournaments on weekends and you analyze their games after they play it to make sure to see what they did wrong and where they can improve on the next round, right? Nice. So it was a weekend job, and then during the summer, I'd work as a coach at the camp. So that actually involves more lessons and stuff like that. And I was mainly in charge of the kids that were coming into middle school. If you're rising 6th grader, right? Like I was trained. My job was to get you up to speed on some of the basics of chess, some of the basic tactics, so that if you do come to if you end up taking a chess class at I-18, you're well versed in the game, right? So I did that for a few summers. So that's my background as a chess player. I still play online chess from time to time. It's still very much a part of who I am. In fact, I'm kind of bummed that this whole coronavirus thing came because, I was planning on renewing my chess membership and actually starting to go play in tournaments again.
Okay.
I live in a metropolitan area now, so I mean, there's plenty of tournaments to play at. I mean, it's not like New York. Nothing can beat New York City. New York City and St. Louis are probably the St. Louis, maybe. I'm not. I think so. St. Louis. I'm going to throw St. Louis on the list, right? There's so much history, in New York City because of the Marshall Chess Club and so many great players coming through that club and so many world championships, world champions playing there. So it's such a historic place. In New York City, the chess scene there is just phenomenal. So my experience as a chess player will probably be a lot different if I played outside of New York City as compared to playing inside New York City, because I mean, there's so many resources,
And you were playing in parks, right?
Every once in a while. One of the great things about chess is that I know for sure that I will always have some stream of income, right? Because I can go to a park and I can hustle a couple people for a couple of bucks, right? So, I know that for the most part, if I need to make a quick buck, I can just stroll down. But however, there are some parks though. I ran into some guy in 14th Street, Union Square, a couple of years ago. And Jack Lint was there as well. So
really?
me, Jack Lint, and a couple of his buddies, right? And I got spanked across the board, right? It was bad. Like this guy was just wrecking me. I lost so much money that day, but
oh no.
it was, but it is what it is, right? Like
you're gonna lose, right? You're gonna lose.
You want to lose, right? So you win some, you lose some. So
yeah.
But it just goes to show you, man, the chess scene in New York is deep. I mean, there's so many good players out there, and you don't even know who they are, but they've been playing.
They
there
can play.
Years. They can play. So it's like pickup basketball, Not nowhere near pickup basketball, but if you want to play a game of pickup chess, there's parks you go to that you can.
Okay. So you know your way around. So no wonder. I mean, you were so busy as a high school athlete, as a high school student. So you had to juggle all that, and you did an incredible thing. Now at UVA, how different was it when you finally came to UVA? I remember when you were you got your release form and you sent me that video. I'm like, oh my God, this guy is so talented. Like, don't worry, we'll find a spot for you. because we already had Jordan, we already had Philip,
Yeah.
and Hilmar was coming up, right? So like, don't worry, we'll find a way to get you here. How different was it academically, not just in terms of how high academic institution UVA is, but how was it different for you to adjust your time management when you came to UVA, being now an athlete that had a great potential, so we were more serious about training, and you had to get more serious about studying too, right? How was that for you?
Oh, it was incredible. I can tell you that the difference between, and not to put UConn down. I mean, for people who don't know, like I went to UConn my first year of college, and I transferred to University of Virginia my second year, right? And then I finished my eligibility at UVA. UConn's a very good school, right?
Yeah.
I think it's the 18th or 19th best public university in the U.S. You get a degree from UConn, you have a good degree, right? The exams, the amount of energy you have to put into studying, right? It's night and day, right? UVA is way tougher.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. Like my first year at UVA, like I found like an old statistics exam from my UConn days, and I compared it to my statistics exam at UVA, and I said, this is unbelievable, right? Like it's way more comprehensive, right? You have to study more, you have to know more, you have to know everything more in detail. So it just the sheer amount of effort that needed to be utilized to be able to get a good grade is the effort is way more. And even in time management, it's something that I struggled with. My first 2 years at UVA was, how do I manage my time, right? Like how do I, how do I digest? One of the worst things is reading through all of these political papers as a political science major, and then what's the point? They're so dense, right? So how do you digest all of that information so fast and understand what the writer of the article is trying to say, right? So that was really good. But the great thing is that UVA had a lot of resources in place to help me manage my time better. I think one of the things and shout out to Dan Jacobs, he's my academic coordinator. One of the things that Dan helped me with is he set me up with the STAR tutor. The STAR tutor is a tutor at UVA for UVA athletes who comes in and helps athletes figure out how to manage their time better, right? And manage their time means, for example, how do you digest a 30-page article that you have to read for class on Tuesday, right? How do you get the
exactly. a couple hours, right?
In a couple hours, right? How do you digest how do you digest an entire 30-page section of a textbook, right? That you have to prepare for, let's say, a biology class, right? How do you create a schedule as to how you're going to go about, how you're going to go about studying, like what time of the day you're going to do this, what time of the day you're going to do that, like how are you going to dedicate, or when are you going to dedicate half an hour to to recovery, right? So it wasn't just academics, right? It was just time management in general, right? Because sometimes we think, oh man, we got to go and prepare for this, this class, right? You forget that you got to go to you got to go to McHugh and you have to ice, right? It's very important. So just understanding how to manage all of those competing priorities.
Time restraints, right? Yeah,
time
exactly.
Right? You only have
priorities,
yep. And then not to mention, you still have to get 8 hours of sleep in a day, because that's the sleep you need to be an optimal performing athlete, right? So it's really tough. Now, it takes a while for a lot of this stuff to sink into me. So it wasn't like I learned a lot of this at the beginning. But
in first 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, no way, right? And I'm still learning, right? It's still difficult, I'm still learning, but STAR tutoring helped me a lot in terms of just being able to think about how to go about my day, and also think about, what's the main point of like this paper that I'm reading, right? Because that's something that I struggled with. Like I'll sit there and I'll read through the entire article, and there's 4 of them. You can't read through 4. I mean, that'll take up your entire night, right? And then I think what really helped me was when I got into grad school, right? When I got my master's at in public policy at UVA, and as a policy guy, you don't have time to digest all of this information, right? You have to, but you have to find a way to do it quick, right? So you're constantly looking for what's the main ideas, right? And you get into this habit of having to look and find these key details really, really fast so that you can, put together policy things really fast or whatever, right? And then this is something I've learned how to do really well professionally, is because all the time I'll get these really large, complex documents that I have to read, and I'm like, I don't know, I don't understand the nuances, right? What's the main purpose of this program, right? And then once I figure out what the main purpose of the program is, then I can start to think about what are the nuances that surround it, right? So it's getting to the main idea and then thinking about what are the nuances that spring off of that. So I think it's a combination of a lot of resources at UVA that helped me get to that point, which I'm really grateful for, because and then UVA just forces you to adapt, right? Like you can't cruise your way through UVA. I mean, like you can't even cruise through drama 1010, right? Like it's what it knows, seriously, right? Like it's it's like people would say it's a really easy class, but you have to do a lot of work to get an A, right? Like it's not easy. So there's no easy, there's not a whole lot of easy class at UVA. Professors make it hard, and that's the good thing, because when you leave UVA, like, you're incredibly prepared for the workforce. I think one of the things I love about UVA is I've never seen students more prepared to enter into the workforce and be successful than being at UVA. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, like, you are just prepared to take on the world. So I feel invincible being in the workforce because UVA has helped me so much.
It's a great point that you made about the comparison, how you compare yourself now or yourself as a senior, as yourself as a graduate student and a freshman. I think that's a very good point to make, for athletes, student athletes, to understand, or high school athletes coming up, and for their parents coming up to college, that yes, it's going to be difficult, but also there's going to be resources for you that's going to help you so much to make you into this machine that you go through all these papers, right? Because in life, that's what you're going to do, right? You're going to be presented with all these problems that you have to solve. And yes, at UVA, we do have great resources like Dan, like advisors, star advisors, that help you manage that time. And it's important for everybody to know that you really can do so much. There's no limits for human body and mind to do. We don't know what's our limits are, right? You have so many incredible people out there who they will say, like, oh, I was never the smartest, I was never the brightest, but I worked hard. And eventually you get to know how you're going to manage those skills, how you're going to manage your time. And you guys were doing so much. And I think that's very important to keep in mind, that your mental training is very similar to your physical training. You have to have a goal, right? So what's my goal? I have to break it down. This is the main distance. This is the main thing in technique that we're doing. This is the main point of the paper, right? It always intrigued me how you guys would come in the first years. I'm not going to mention names. Some guys that and girls that slept in the first class, right? They're so overwhelmed, right? we got professors sending emails. And then end up being one of the best students in the class, right? And as a sophomore, junior year, senior, getting almost all A's, right? So there is a way to make it better. And you really can do so much, even if you start, even if you have a little bumpy ride, right, at the beginning. So, so one of the questions was how that prepare you for a workforce now. So I guess you answered that already. So you're you're managing to manage your time better, right?
I've learned. So it's I think one of the most important things is, working in for a government contractor that provides, services for the government, right? And I work on the sales side of the company, so my job is to position the company to win business, right? But that requires having to read through a lot of documents to understand, like, what is the requirement of the work that needs to be performed, right? And a lot of these requirements, this is all information technology type stuff, right? I'm not an IT guy, right? I'm a public policy. I'm a social science guy, right? So it's really hard for me to digest a lot of this information, right? So that's why it's important for me to look at what is the main idea, right? What is the main purpose of the program? What is this system that operates in a tax filing apparatus trying to accomplish, right? And then I can begin to fill in the holes that I have the holes in my understanding by leaning on, my boss to be able to help educate me, or leaning on people who are responsible for providing a solution, right? And that helps me fill in a lot of the holes. So it's kind of, so I try to generalize things a lot and then work backwards from there, right? Like if I'm trying to understand a small piece of the puzzle, right, I'm going to be lost. But if I understand the overarching idea of what the program's trying to do, then it makes it easy for me to go back and figure out, like, what are the pieces of the roadmap as to how we get from point A to point B in this program. So, it's really valuable to me. And listen, time management is still an issue, right? Like, I still have to do a better job, but I'm way better than I was 4 or 5 years ago, right? So, that's something that you're always going to be able to work on, and you can try as hard as you can, but there's always something to improve on with that.
Yeah. So in terms of that, how do you find time to train now? How do you find time to practice, and do you find time? How do you train? Where do you train?
So, I still go out and train 4 days a week. Before the coronavirus, coronavirus flipped everything up on its head. But prior to COVID-19, I was still training 4 times a week, still going out and throwing 4 times a week, still lifting 4 times a week. So mainly what I would do is, I would work a whole 8 hours, right, a day. And then I will go home, change, get all my equipment, and I'll head out to the track and I'll throw. And after I finish throwing, I'll go to the gym, I lift, go home. Dinner's already prepared, so I'll eat dinner really fast. The one thing I hate is eating dinner super late at night. It's not good for you, I don't think. So now one of the things that got interesting was because daylight savings time last fall, right? So daylight savings time came, and it meant that the track got darker earlier, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So I had to get creative as to how I went about this. So what I would do is, for a good 3 to 4 months, I actually came into the office at 7:30 in the morning, right? And it was brutal, right? I was up at 6, had breakfast, drove into the office at 7:30. But the great thing about coming in so early is that I could leave early, right? So coming in at 7:30 in the morning allowed me to leave at 3:30, right? And leaving at 3:30 meant that I can get to the track at 4:15, which gave me a lot more time of sunlight to be able to get out and get my throws in, right? And then obviously having a Gold's Gym membership, Gold's Gym pretty much has everything I need, to be successful when it comes to lifting. It has platforms, so I could do Olympic lifts, squat racks, free weights, treadmills, a place to stretch, a place to do core. So it's not as elaborate, it's not as beautiful as McHugh and the racks in McHugh, in the McHugh weight room, but you're not looking for something that's elaborate. You're looking for something that's functional and it gets the job done, right? So I'd bounce around different Gold's Gyms in Northern Virginia because it's just interesting, right? And it's great because one day you bench a high amount of weight and you disappear, and no one knows. No one knows who you are.
Who the heck was this guy?
So one time I went to the Gold's Gym in Boston. Boston's a neighborhood in Arlington, Virginia, and I was push pressing 350 pounds for reps, right? And a guy shouted from across the way. He was like, "I've never seen that before. That is insane. I've never seen that." So it's crazy, right? And then I disappear. I don't go back to Boston for a long time. So it's like I'm a ghost, right? I come in, I move a lot of weight, I disappear. No one sees me again, right? So it's cool. But there's this one Gold's Gym that I go to on a regular. So in South Arlington, and people see me, they know me all the time there.
Okay.
So yeah. So, and I usually do the same thing for circles, right? Like I'll bounce around different high schools in Northern Virginia, right? So the main circle that I would throw out is Wakefield High School. So they have a circle, they have a track. They usually have hurdles out on the track. So like it'll be a good opportunity for me to get in and do some stretching, hurdle mobility before I actually go out and throw. So it's not even like I left UVA, right? Like it's like I still have resources that are there in place, right? So Wakefield, Wakefield is usually where I would go.
Okay.
Sometimes I go to Boston, and sometimes I go to Washington and Liberty, Washington and Liberty, high school.
Mm-hmm.
They have a nice circle. They have a nice discus cage. Probably one of my favorite places to throw, but I've only thrown there twice, is T.C. Williams High School in Alexandria. I think it's probably the best circle in Northern Virginia I've thrown on. Beautiful circle, really nice circle, excellent discus cage. So it's a great way for me to just like bounce around and always spice things up a bit, knowing that I don't have to throw at the same place over and over. And then as you know, I was always down in Virginia every other weekend. So when I came down, I always got some reps in at UVA, right?
Yeah.
So getting reps in the bubble, getting reps on at the track. So just make shifting things. But it was good. It was good. And then when it got really cold, which rarely ever happened. Like it was always usually warm enough I can step outside. But when it got really cold, I went to, I was able to, go out and train with Christine Bohan, old teammate up at University of Maryland, where they have a, what have indoor facility. So, so it was.
How long do you want to throw for? Obviously, you're gonna have to do
That's a good question.
Time management, but if people throw in their 50s, people, they stop after college. Well, how about you?
So I think my goal is just to continue throwing for at least the next 1 or 2 years. Throwing's going to be like chess, right? It's going to be something that I'll do, and at some point, it's probably I might have to, put it aside and stop pursuing it like full time. But I'll always be involved in the sport in some way, right? Like I can envision myself still going out and throwing, at the age of 27, 28. Not trying to really make like a team or anything, but just throwing to have fun, right? But right now, I'm in a moment in my life where it's still important for me to go out there and train professionally because there's still goals I have to achieve, right? Like the Olympics is right around the corner, right? The World Championships, right? I was watching footage of the 2019 World Championships for the shot put all over again, right? And looking at these guys' techniques and seeing, okay, like what can I do better? How can I improve, right? So it's tough, and the good thing is I have a little bit of flexibility, from my work because they know that I'm training and they're giving me a little bit of free reign, as to how I construct my hours to be able to do that. So, like that's kind of like the timeline that I'm thinking on. It's like, okay, like, go out and continue to train as best as you can for the next, 1 to 2 years. And there's still some great things ahead of me, right? Like, because I mean, World Indoor Championships is next year, right? Olympics is next year, right? And then World Championships outdoors in Eugene, Oregon is the year after, I imagine, right? So I mean, like, there's so many meets that there's that I still have to prepare for. So not to mention a lot of African championships. I know Commonwealth Games are probably going to come back at some point. So like that's so there's still meets and opportunities to be able to train. And prepare. So, that's my goal, and that's kind of like the timeline I'm thinking about as well. But I'll be honest with you, man. It's exhausting having to go out and having to work and having to train and having to do all the things. So sometimes it weighs on you. But you do what you can, right? And I keep telling myself that, Pobo, like, do the best that you can. And I'm very surprised because the best that I made a lot of good technical changes this year. I feel a little bit more athletic. I slimmed down a bit. So there are some things that are moving in a positive direction. And it's maybe a blessing that the Olympics is another year from now, right? Because it gives me more time to work on these good habits. So
I love that you are recognizing that, and it's really difficult to have a full-time job and that to work, to throw on the side and train like a professional athlete, right? So that's really incredible, and I'm glad that you know that there are sacrifices needed to be made, and that you know the way how to do it, right? You're obviously reached such a high level. So you're All-American over and over again. You were competing internationally for Nigeria, right? You threw around the world, so you already achieved so much, and it's great to see that you are taking it day by day and seeing how far your body can take you. And also, I think it's important to have a habit of, and I know you will, even if you stop throwing, to do something in a workout, do some exercise, some kind of sport, and being in track for so long, why not to continue that? Right? As long as it's not painful, right?
Yeah, I think one of the great things though is that coach, you know that Nate's up here in Northern
Yeah,
Virginia
yeah,
now. So Nate lives in Tyson's Corner, like
yeah.
Tyson's Corner. He's 3 hours, 3 hours. He's about 3 miles away from where
3
I
miles.
live.
Yeah.
So everyone, Nate and I haven't gotten together yet, but I told Nate early this week that I was like, listen, I'm going to go run 10 minutes of hell at some point,
Yeah.
and you got to come with me, right? So he's like,
Get him out there. Yeah.
and so
Yeah, you had an incredible team. Now, I keep saying this, and I keep telling the coaches and everybody who asks me how jealous I am of you guys, and even this generation now that I'm not on the team. I'm a coach, but I'm not on the team. You were on a team, and you were a big part of it. Obviously, not just because you're a big guy. You're a big player. You're a big part of that team.
Yeah.
For many years, right? You, Philip, Jordan, Hilmar, Natse, Boost, James, right? All these guys. It's just incredible teammates. You guys were killing it for years, and now these guys are taking over. Jacob and Claudia and Ethan.
Yeah.
We have Tyler and team. Ryan was an amazing teammate as well, right?
Yeah, I agree.
You guys had so much fun. You're amazing people. The most important part, you're amazing people, not just throwers. And what was some of your favorite memories from that era of you guys being like warriors or like bulls? Like you were undefeated. Like you guys are there's the bulls of your time, right?
There's a whole bunch of stories. I mean, I'm not going to tell one because I'm not sure if Philip will want me to tell it. But I think it's just the camaraderie, man. Like it's how often do you have the chance to have a collection of world-class throwers like that in one area training with each other? I mean, it's just incredible. So that's probably the best training environment. Well, it is the best training environment that I've ever been a part of, in my life, is being able to, train, be able to train with Philip. I mean, good God, the guy was throwing 2180 consistently all indoor season. I mean, like, it was incredible, Philip, Jordan, Hilmar. I mean, the guy was Icelandic record holder in the hammer, right? Like, to be surrounded by these guys, it was just incredible. And everybody had, everybody was strong in their own way. I mean, like Philip was super athletic and probably the most athletic of all of us, right? And Jordan had a big bench press, and Ilmar just had the biggest clean, and I had the biggest back spot, right? So it's just just round it out. And then Nate will come in and do his own thing too, right? Like it's incredible. So I honestly just miss being around the guys. It does hurt a bit that we're all kind of separated and doing our own things now. But that's life, right? And you do your best to try and stay engaged with everybody. The good thing is that Nate's, close to me. Philip's getting married. And so
growing
I mean,
so
like,
fast.
You grow up so fast, right? So Philip's getting married, so me and Carter, we're making plans to fly out the Bosnia and Croatia in October, right? Like, so it's just amazing. And I think also the pranks that we all played on each other. Like, I mean, Jordan made that video of me falling, in the weight throw at Notre Dame. Notre Dame. That's So that was pretty funny. So it's funny how we always make fun of each other too. Philip picked on me all the time. So that's but it was from love, and I know it's from love. And then we all picked on Nate all the time too. But that's what it is, right? Like we're brothers, pick on each other. So
exactly, it was mutual. Like you guys picked on each other the whole time, and the best thing was it like you can't get mad because that's your, like you said, that's your brother, that's your friend. And the best thing about the whole thing is you guys are going to stay friends for as long as you guys know each other, right? You have friends across the world. Whenever you guys see each other, you're going to have a good time. And in bad times, you guys are going to be there for each other as well, right? So you have this support group of incredible friends that's going to always stay there forever with you guys, right? And what a time. It doesn't hurt that it was that you guys were the best in your era. I would say 21st century, but not just throwing. You were incredible people too. One of my favorite memories with you is the indoor season when you went from seventh place to third place, right?
Yeah,
On that last throw, and
last
you
throw, yes.
bombed it. I'm like, oh, come on,
Yeah.
Pobo, you got it in you. You got it, last one, best one. And last one was best one. You almost beat Denzel and Mo.
Yeah, I was short by 2
And I
centimeters.
remember giving you a high five, and my hand just like the heck out of it. And I didn't feel my hand. I was just walking happy, like, oh, yeah, Pobo. My hand is just numb, like it's turning around.
Oh, man, yeah.
But I was so happy you were happy. Philip was there, chest bumping you.
Yeah.
Jordan as well, he was third in that championship as well.
Yep.
It was just incredible. And there was so many memories like that. It's like you say, it's hard to pick one. But it's great
really
you guys
is.
just keep it in touch.
Yeah, it really is. Like, even Boost, for example, Buscelli, that guy drove me insane for 2 years. I lived with him for 2 years, right? But Boost knows that I love him, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Boost, I consider Boost to be, one of the good friends that I have. Genuinely great guy.
Yeah.
But he was a prankster. I mean, our third year at UVA, my second year at UVA, which was his third year at UVA, we lived together at Lambeth, right? And our room, we would anytime somebody went out to do laundry, right? They'd fill up water balloons, right? And they throw water balloons at the roommate coming back to the room. So right. So there will be some nights where I'm going out to do laundry, and there's Boost and there's a couple of them other roommates out there just lining up on the top because we lived on the fourth floor, lining up on the top of the balcony of the fourth floor, just throwing water balloons at you. I mean, it's crazy. But I mean, that's awesome though, right? Like,
well, and that's exactly. And you gotta be young while you're young, and having responsible fun like that is awesome. You can't be a 40-year-old throwing water balloons at somebody. Like, I can't do that anymore. That is all weird. By being 20 in your 20s, that's awesome.
That was awesome. So he drove me insane, but I love the guy to death. And he's just another example of when I talk about Hilmar and Philip and Jordan and Nate, because those are the guys that obviously when I competed, we competed with each other, right? But I mean, there's so many other people on the team like like Buscelli, right, or Kate, or Carter, right? And these are all people who are close friends of ours. We all we try to stay in close contact with each other from time to time, right? So it was truly a team effort. That whole throws group in general, was just special. I mean, even Boost's athleticism was just amazing, right? I mean, like the one time Boost cleaned 140 kilos from the ground, looked like it was a professional Olympic lifter, right? It was incredible, right?
Did he squat 200 kilos or almost? I think it was 190 or almost.
If I had to take a guess, I'd say Boost probably squatted 200. I can't remember, but he's super athletic, and Kate was the same way, and Maria and Ava. So it's just it just goes to show you that when people look at that 2017 team that went and finished third at NCAA's, there's so many other people behind us, right, that made it possible for us to get there, that pushed us, right? Like Boost would get on me from time to time about stuff, right? It drove me insane, but he was right? So, what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to ignore what he says? No, Boost is right. So, and if I don't have that person, that teammate who's pushing me to be better, right? Then how am I supposed to get better, right? Or Kate or Carter, right? There's so many people, right? That, and not even just throwers, right? Like Jack Lynn. Now he drove me insane too. Can't stand him, but I love him, right? And I love him like a brother too, right? Like if Jack ever need anything, I'll be, I'm willing to jump in and help out, right? So so many people that are part of that team and played such a big role in helping everyone, succeed. It's just not, when you look and say, oh wow, look at these are so, these great throws are amazing. There's a village, behind us. A village of other teammates, a village of coaches, a village of support staff, at UVA that helped make, it possible. And it wasn't like we were the only ones who succeeded. I mean, everybody had their own successes too. James, Carter, Kate. I mean, we've all done great things at UVA in our own right. So, like I said, at the end of the day, it's really a team effort.
Yeah, and it's exactly what in life you are who you are with, right? So you
Yeah.
surround yourself with people who you think they're going to make you better, right? Who will make you better, and to have that as a whole institution. So I always say in recruiting, find a place that works for you, right? So UVA is an amazing school. You might not feel that you are getting something out of that you get somewhere else, maybe because your sister or brother is there, or you don't want to be far away from home. You got to find an environment that suits you, but also know that more people who are behind you, the better, right? So like your team, like you said, it's not you guys ended up only 4 of you at nationals that year, but it was hundreds of people working. Your academic advisor, your teammates on a cross country team, like you said, the decathlon, Jack, right? Sprinters, you all 80 of you were part of that daily effort to make you better, and you were making them better, and in turn, you all rise, right?
Yeah.
So it's not a winner takes it all in terms of growing. It's everybody's there and everybody's growing. And I love the environment that you guys were in culture that you were guys in during that time.
Oh,
and
such a great culture.
now it's continuing because you guys brought it up. You brought it to a little higher level, like Philip, Jordan Scott, Jordan Young, you, right?
Yeah.
In terms of performance, like, we can actually do some things as long while being great students, right? So you can be the best physically, you can be the best mentally if you have people who can help you there, right? And we do have such a great support team. And I always say this, you guys, I learn so much from you guys. I learn every day. I'm blessed to have you guys on the team, so I can learn from you. And hopefully, like I always say, you guys learn a little bit from me, for the information that I pass on from people that I learned before me too, right? So accumulating that knowledge, bringing it together, and 2 heads are always better than one, and hundreds of them is always better if they're in the right cause, right? Always say.
Yep. That's true.
So that was really, really impressive to see you guys grow, not just physically, not just in meters, but also mentally. Like you said, you were able to manage so many things, and you went through grad school, one of the toughest grad schools to get into. You got into, and you did well. How was that experience for you?
So I got my master's degree in public policy from the Batten School of Leadership and Public Policy at UVA. Very fortunate. I credit. I feel like a lot of the things that I've learned that are impacting my ability to work so well in the workforce, came from grad school. A lot, thinking about how to go about solving a problem, right? Thinking about what does the data mean, right? Like, there's one thing to look at a data, look at a study or a piece of data and say, oh, okay, all right, here's a number, right? But what is it telling you, right? Like, how are you gonna go about thinking about it? How are you gonna go about building or implementing policies because of it, right? So I think it's been just such a great experience to be able to, learn so much in that program. And I'll be the first one to tell you, I struggled a lot. My first year at Batten, I mean, it was the hell year, right? Like you have the first semester was brutal, the second semester was just as brutal, right? So you have to work really hard. Yeah. And there were some times where I was trying to solve an econometrics problem, and I already had submitted it late, and it's already 3 days late, and I'm sitting there in the bottom of U-Haul about to shed tears because I can't solve the problem, right? It's so bad. But there's a lot of learning and struggle, which is why it's important to just grapple with it and just keep finding ways to think about it until it eventually makes sense. I mean, because then once you understand it, I mean, then it's really hard for you to forget it, right?
Yes.
So it's very important. I think another thing that I want to touch on with my grad school is just the incredible faculty that's there. I mean, the professors that I had were just amazing. They knew so much about the policy process, and then a lot of these other professors who brought a lot of experience from industry, right? I think one of my favorite professors that I had was Professor Shapak. I think he was a director of the National Governors Association, I think back in like either the 80s or 90s. So having someone with that experience to teach you, about things that happen in Washington is very incredible. Another example of professor I had was Professor Brad Carson. Brad Carson, he was a congressman from Oklahoma. And I think he was the at some point Secretary of the Army and Assistant Secretary of Defense. Right? I mean, that's just,
That's kind of a big deal. That's kind of
a big deal, right? Like it's a huge deal, right? So, you know, I'll give you an example. One day, and then there's just the connections that they know is incredible too, because it turns out that Brad Carson, I think, knows 4-star General Paul Nakasone, who's the head of U.S. Cyber Command, and he's the head of the NSA, right? So one day, I'm giving a presentation on the role of U.S. special warfare in deterrence, right? In deterrence theory.
I remember.
You know, and I'm in slippers, you know, in socks, and you know, I'm ready to go in, present, get out, go to practice, right? Next thing you know, 4-star General Nakasone comes walking in the class.
Like, what is going on?
And
here?
I'm like, whoa, okay. So I'm giving a presentation about the Army to an Army 4-star general. Right? So he didn't kill me, but that type of expertise that is available that you can pick the brains of is just it's incredible. I mean, the faculty at Baton is just insane. I mean, everybody's just brilliant. So and that goes for a lot of other professors at UVA in general. But you know, I was real up close and personal with a lot of these professors at Baton because, you know, with a cohort of 90 people, you see them all the time, right? So so it was just incredible. So I think those are the two big takeaways that I had from grad school. And at the end of the day, it also provided me a chance to get a good degree, obviously stay at UVA and finish out my eligibility, which was really important. That's something I always thought about when I was transferring to UVA was, okay, like I knew that I wanted to finish my eligibility here and, you know, be able to get a 5th year. And it was good, you know, because, you know, we almost won conference that year, and it was good that I was able to be here and help the team, you know, get close to being able to achieve that goal. Though we didn't do it, you know, and it's crazy because I think a lot of us were surprised at how well the team had, you know, performed leading in, right? It was just an amazing performance across the board from the entire team. So, you know, so I was glad that I was able to be there and help the program be able to do that. So.
No, you helped tremendously to this program. You made it what it is. Like you said, you set the bar high. What I really like about you and all you guys, you're such a hard workers, right? I remember you coming in with books, not just to keep you balanced, but you would study in your locker room. You would study after hours. You study hard. You know what you wanted. And I think that attitude helps you, and you were not afraid to reach out to ask for help either. I think that's the most important part of making those shortcuts is just asking, hey coach, you know, can I take a day off tomorrow? I have this huge presentation. Can we train at different times, right? Instead of running into possibility of being overtrained. Same wise in the school, you would ask your professor, like, hey professor, I'm not getting this. Can you help me out with this office hours? I know you loved reaching out to professors and asking them, how do you explaining more about the concept that you had to write about. I remember all those books that you had to read when you were bringing them to the locker room, and you would ask the professor, like, hey, can you help me out here, make it a little shorter for me, a short time that I need to spend on it. And that's so important, like you said, when you have somebody with that experience, like those generals and then their associates, that you can ask them questions that they learned over 40 years. Like,
40
hey,
years,
this is the way I do it. I did it for 10 years. I'm going to make your life much easier with these couple of lessons, right? That's so important to have yourself open to new ideas, to new things, and try them, even if you fail, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if not hurting you physically or somebody else. Try, fail, and learn from it, right? And you guys were doing that, and I loved. And this is one example how team-oriented you were. You didn't have to throw the weight. You didn't have to throw discus.
Right? You have to throw the hammer.
And you exactly hammer 160 meters, no problem, right?
It's
you didn't have to do it, and we didn't need it, but you wanted to do it, right? And you did it exceptionally, and people seeing that, like, oh my God, look at Pobo, eating face down on ground in the weight, and then coming back a year or two later, crushing it, right?
Yeah.
20 meters, like, you don't give up. Like, you fail, but you get up and be even better in discus. I know some people doubt that you can never throw 45.
Oh, we know exactly one person who doubted me. we know one person who doubted me, who never thought I could throw farther than 45 meters. I'm not going to say his name because I'll see him and a couple months in Croatia. He knows who I'm talking about.
Exactly. And then you come back, and you win the regionals. Now you just score in conference. You throw 50 meters many times. You come back at the conference score, right? You and not say, oh my God, that 2019, you won the conference, obviously in shot put, and then come back in discus as well, and hammer. You were throwing all of them. There's not many athletes to make in 3 events to regionals. Only for us was only Jordan, right? And Jordan Young, but and that's really exceptional, right? And you, like I said, you didn't have to do that. You were a shot putter. Obviously, you competed nationally, internationally. You were one of the best throwers of all time in UVA, which is hard to have. You will be up. You guys are what an incredible time to be in, right? Like you 4 of you. So you didn't have to throw it away. You didn't have to throw the hammer, but you wanted to. I remember at regionals too. Like Pobo, like we don't need to throw the hammer. It's going to be hard to make the nationals, right? 65, you have to throw. And like, coach, I just want to do it. Awesome. So you were willing to do all this, and then still made nationals, right? You made nationals in shot put. Your 4th was 4th in a row, right?
4th, I made all four outdoor nationals.
So that's also an exceptional thing. And it's because I believe strongly it's because you were willing to do all these things to see where you like shot put. Like when you were a kid, you didn't want to throw it, and then you end up in it, and you were one of the best. You got a scholarship. You end up working for a contract company that does work for government. Who knows what else is there for you unless you try,
that's
right?
True. Unless you try. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. It was great experience. The hammer was. I remember the hammer. The hammer was just something weird. It was just like, coach. I looked at the conference standings one day, and I was like, I think I could do some damage this year. Like obviously I didn't score in the hammer, but I mean, it was tough having to throw the shot put and then come back 3 hours later and throw the hammer. So it was really hard. But it was just like let's give it a shot. 60 meters, 98. Okay, all right.
You're 4th of all time in UVA. Over 60 meters like that, with no training, right? It's just so
I'm just happy that,
you are and how exceptional you are in breaking it down to pieces, right? So same thing as you approach your projects now in your school. I remember same thing, coach. Okay, let's break it down to the finish, and then I'm gonna do some 1 turns, 2 turns. We broke it down to a very systematic way that you can handle it in the shortest time possible, right?
Yeah.
And you would do drills, possible. You watch videos, and you just want it to be as good as you can in that. It's something that you're doing. You didn't waste time.
Well, honestly, if I didn't think the team would have a chance of winning conference, I don't think I would have tried and invested in it, right? Like, because like you said, like. You didn't, it wasn't something you were expecting me to do, but I said, okay, like this team is really good. Let's see if I can squeeze out some more points here or there, right? So I was like, all right, let's just pick up the hammer and see what happens. So, like I said, I think a lot of what I've done, and when people ask me about my success as a UVA athlete, I completely forget that I won ACCs last year, right? What I don't think about, right? Because there's so many other things that are so more important than just individual accolades, right? Like it's so that's it's something that I usually forget. I'm just like, oh yeah, I forgot I won ACCs last year, right? It's not because I take it for granted. I think it's just because there's so many great things we did as a team, and I think the team is the most important thing, right? Like I got an ACC title, but we never won conference, right? That hurt, right? That's a team, right? Like that's something that that would have been the highlight of my career as an athlete, right? But the highlight of my career is us finishing 3rd as a team, right? At nationals, right? That is, it's always about the team. The team is the most important. It's important that I get my individual accolades while I'm at it, but I could have gone 4 years without winning an ACC title. I would have been happy with the career, just because I saw the team did well, and that's something that I'm happy about.
And I think that's why you're such exceptional in what you do right now, and why every employer would love to have somebody like you on their team, and that I'm 100% sure that you're going to be a great leader if you ever decide to open up your own company or do something on your own. You're gonna know how to bring the people together, because you have done it so many times. You rallied for people, for your friends, and you cared about them. And like you said, even teammates who didn't score as many points as you were as friendly to them and appreciated them as much as Philip and anybody else. I think that to be a great leader, you have to be not a great, let's say great follower. You have to be a great teammate, right?
Yeah,
And you were
yeah.
an amazing teammate, and like you said, there's so many better things that you can do as a team and as a group than you can do individually, especially in the world that we live now, right? We are so connected. We're so independent. I remember one joke, this was a long time ago before Joe Rogan even had his podcast. He
Yeah.
said this joke about how interconnected we are, right? He said, if I left you on an island somewhere, big island, how long before you send me an email? Right? I don't know even how to make it.
Yeah,
How to make
that's a good question.
pieces of plastic? How to make computers, right? And how to
Yeah.
make internet? Well, we're
Yeah.
so independent, interconnected, and interdependent, right?
Yeah.
So working as a team is so powerful and so important in this day and age. And the fact that you are where you are right now is because you were a team player. And track and field is not in itself an individual sport, team sport, because you throw and
Yep.
that's all you do, right? But as a team, you do, right? And like you said, your teammates help you get better. You in the weight room, in the classroom. So that was again one of the most incredible things that I've seen about you guys to raise as individuals together, right? There was nobody left behind, literally, right? No child left behind, no throw.
No throw left behind.
No, very, very exceptional. How for those high school athletes out there who are looking into environment that they want to be in, what are some things that you advise that you already mentioned that you would want to give them to look for, or some things that you want them to know that they need to reach out or not be scared of college, because that's always one of the biggest things. Like, will I make it in college? I'm afraid of college, right?
Yeah, well, I think first and foremost, I think one of the things that attracted me to UVA was the fact that there was a young Philip and a young Jordan, right? So I knew that coming to UVA, I'll have a chance to be part of a really good training group who will be there for the next 2 years, right? So I wasn't coming in expecting to be Philip or be Jordan right away, but I knew that training with them would make me better. So if you are a high school student looking to get into a good college program and be successful, it's obviously you have to have a good coach, right? But also you have to have a good training environment as well, right? Like it's like there are limitations there are limitations when you just have a good coach and that's it, right? Because who's going to be there to push you in practice that day, right? But I mean, when you have a good coach and a good training group around you, right? That's what makes it really good, because not only do you have a coach who's telling you and guiding you through how to have better technique and how to lift better and how to do certain things better as it pertains to training, but you have teammates who are there to push you, right? I think one of the great things that I admired about Philip was that Philip had he built a roadmap to get to 21 meters, right? Like because he did it, right? So so like, what if you want to throw 21 meters? Like, what better place to be than join a teammate who has done it, right? To join a program who has had someone do it, right? Because the formula, the roadmap is there. It exists, right? The coach has done it, athlete has done it, right? Now, not every athlete's the same, but having a base roadmap, you can take it and then you can change it around to fit that individual athlete, right? So the roadmap is very important. So if you're a high school student, obviously you want to find a good coach, but also want to find a good training group. And there's so many great training groups out there. I mean, I'm sorry. Now I'm going to start selling some universities, right?
Yeah, I talked about it. I have different coaches on this podcast.
No, but like,
that's what we do here. Yeah.
Think of it. There's so many great coaches and great training programs. I mean, Tennessee, for example, right? Obviously Virginia. You had Coach Mo on from California the other day, right? They have a great
Meat Factory in Michigan.
Meat Factory in Michigan, right? I mean, there's so many other, North Dakota State, for example, right? There's so many other programs out there that have good coaches and good training environments to be a part of. I think that's so important, right? Now, obviously, you got to be, you got to dig deeper, right? Because obviously, you're not going to be able to, like, if everybody's trying to go to these programs, right? It's going to be hard sometimes for somebody to get there. But I mean, there are some diamond in the rough places that you probably never heard about that are like really good. There's a
Yeah.
really good coach out there. There's so I think that's important in terms of just being able to look and be in a great training environment. As for being afraid for college, I think probably one of the things that is the most terrifying thing about transitioning from high school to college is that, there's no teacher or there's no mom or dad to be able to
Yeah.
push you to say you need to do this homework, right?
Yeah.
So so the main thing is you have to be accountable to yourself, right? You know that you have to get this homework assignment done. You have
Yeah.
to be able to read this article or read this book for this class, right?
Mhm.
And no one's going to tell you to do it, right? They can tell you to do it, but you don't have to do it, right?
Yeah.
But doing it is very important because you want to get good grades, you want to stay eligible. But not only that, is good grades are important for setting you up for good jobs in the future, right?
Mhm.
Or setting you up to be able to get into a good grad school program if that's what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
You have to have a high GPA to get into law school, right? So if you don't take those steps, like your first semester, your second semester, right? Then when you apply for law school, it's gonna be really hard to get in because there's one semester you had a 2.5 GPA,
Mhm.
but if you had worked harder, maybe had a 3.7 or 3.8,
Mhm.
that might be the difference, right? So the accountability is the hard part, and it's tough. It's not easy, right? Because that's something I had to learn, and that's something I still have to learn, right?
Yeah.
But it was different for me now because the accountability is the money, right? Like, if I don't do this, we lose revenue.
Now it's
Right?
tangible.
So
It comes out of my pocket.
It comes out of my pocket, right? So it's tangible now. So that's the accountability. But in college, there's no one pushing you.
Mm.
But the great thing about Virginia is that we had everybody pushing us to do it, right? So
Yep.
it was much easier to be accountable at a university like UVA because
Mm.
you were on me all the time about grades, right? Dan, so there's a good support staff who made sure that we had good grades so that
Yeah.
because being a student athlete is just not being the best athlete on the field.
Yeah.
You have to have good grades and you have to be an exceptional student as well. So the accountability is the most important part. And if you're struggling with that, get in right away with with the resources. Engage the resources that you have at the university to begin with right away, right?
Yep.
If you think don't even begin to sit back and think you can handle it on your own, right?
Yeah.
Get in and just engage people right away and get the resources right away because you want to start off, college with a bang, right?
Mm.
And I think that's going to be really important as well. So if you feel like that's going to be an issue, just engage the resources around you because there's so much around us. There's so many people.
Mhm.
There's so many resources that are going to be able to help you be a better student, and that's
Yeah.
so important.
Great advice. It's so true that you do have to find a group. You have to find a coach, and luckily these days it's easy to get in touch with coaches, right? You just look them up on Instagram or Twitter,
Yeah.
whatever they are, right? You get in touch with them right away, right? Their information is on the website. You can see what kind of teammates they have. You can engage, and most of them are on social media. You can see if that's kind of a teammate that you want to be around. And once you get to that good program, like you say, reach out to those resources that you have. Engage with the tutors, with your academic advisors. Ask for help, and don't be afraid to ask, right? And then don't be lazy or don't overestimate your skills.
Oh, absolutely not. That's one thing I did when I got to
You have
UVA
to
my
be
first year.
better be safe than sorry. You gotta get
Yeah.
in there right away in boxing, right?
Yeah.
Before he knocks you out. So it's good to engage with those tutors and those advisors so you can get those grades up right away and to figure out how to study, how to learn, how to manage your time, right? And you have done that. And to go back to that group, like you said, so academically, obviously that's what you need, and you guys did. And like you said, there was athletes sleeping in classes, and then next thing you know, a couple of years later, they're one of the best academic athletes on the team, on the whole department. So talk about how you are, who you are with, how your teammates and the culture is important. You had somebody on your incredible teammates like Christine, like Jade, right? Who wasn't even a
Georgetown
thrower.
Law. He wasn't even a thrower, right? But Jade is Jade is is a great example of someone who came in, wasn't even wasn't even a thrower when she came in, right? But she's someone who worked hard. It's really admirable. She worked hard. She got really good at it, and then you can see it. I mean, by like by her first year throwing and her fourth year throwing, night and day, right? It was as if Jade was throwing the hammer for 15 years, right? Like it was incredible. And she's a school record holder in the hammer, right? Yep. So I mean, it's just and not only to mention, this is an example of how it's possible to be an exceptional student athlete, exceptional student, and an exceptional athlete. I mean, we talk about how good of a student, how good of an athlete Jade is. She's a record holder in the hammer. She got the regionals. You know,
almost made nationals
made nationals
by a little bit. Yeah, by a little bit. Yeah,
by a little bit, right? Almost made nationals. But Jade was an exceptional student at UVA, and she's at Georgetown Law, right? She finished up her first year at law school there. Yeah. So, I mean, just another example of how it is possible to be an exceptional student and an exceptional athlete. So, I mean, Jade is a perfect example of how to succeed in the UVA environment. And she had everything stacked against her. I mean, she wasn't even a hammer thrower, right? So she had to start way back.
Hammer thrower. She was not a thrower.
Not a thrower to begin with. So she had to start. She started 5 steps back from where I started, or where Hilmar started, or where Philip and Jordan started, right? And caught up, and it was amazing, while not giving up on her grades.
No, and that's she's one of obviously she's a school record holder, one of the most incredible athletes I ever had the privilege to coach. How she took those early mornings, late weights. Like I said, she wasn't a thrower. She came in, but that's something, and then she rubbed off of you guys as well, and it was something that she was obviously brought up with. Her dad is an amazing coach. He's in the NFL now.
Yeah, Indianapolis Colts.
Incredible siblings. Mom was a UVA athlete as well, an exceptional athlete. So she brought that with her, that hard work. And I love that even when she was faced with adversity, right? She was faced that she has to quit sprinting her, after freshman year of college. She took that look at you guys like, okay, is this what we're doing? Let's do it. Like, everybody's in it. I'm not going to be that person to whine. I'm going to get full blown, and obviously one of the greatest throwers of all time at UVA. But it fits perfectly with what you guys already had, and added even more to it because you had discipline. You guys were all after the first couple of months at UVA being here, you figure out quickly, like, either I do all these things, either I reach out to my professors, my tutors, make sure I'm resting, make sure I'm doing all the practice that I have, or I'm not going to make it, right? It's not, I talked this with Coach Newell the other day. It's really hard these days. Like, you really have to try not to fail.
You're right. College. I mean,
you have all these resources, all these chances. Join the crowd, because that crowd is going in the right direction to the graduation, right? And you really have to, but it starts from you, right? It starts from you making the decision, like, no, I will do all these things, and people will help you. So yeah, you're definitely right. Being accountable, being accountable to yourself, reaching out and finding a good program for you, right?
That's true. Yeah. And I like what you said about not overestimating your abilities, right? It's one of the things that when I came into UVA, I thought I could be whatever, right? And clearly I was. After the first semester, I was wrong.
Oh, okay.
Punch left and right.
Wait. Give some water.
I was getting punched left and right. Man, I was like, I'm going to be econ, but couldn't get through Calc 1. I was like, oh, boy. So you can't underestimate your abilities, right? But if you want to do it, like you said, you got to reach out to the resources. And if I had, I ran into one of the calc tutors in the athletic department. His name is Travis Elliott, right?
Okay.
Brilliant guy. I think he's finishing up his PhD at Darden, right? Uh-huh. Very smart guy.
Yeah.
And I met him the first time around November, my first semester at UVA, right? He's a calc tutor. Now, who knows if I would have met him 2 months earlier, right? How that calc class would have turned out, right? So again, this is another example of why it's important that you seek out those resources, because I guarantee you, if I had Travis for 2 months before I got to that point when I realized, I was like, okay, all right, I'm finished, right? Calc 1 would have been a different story. And maybe I would have been an econ major, right? Because I would have gone on to Calc 2, So it's important.
It's so much easier, and really you have to, like I said, with John Newell, you really almost have to work harder to fail than to succeed, because after knowing that, right? Like after you figured it out, like, oh man, all I needed to do is get a list tutor. Like Trevor would have helped me, and you never made that mistake afterwards, right? Like now, like now I'm gonna start, and then obviously you end up in the grad school. You would not end up in the grad school if you were not a good student.
Yeah.
So you took that personally, right?
You know, yeah. I mean, like, and Travis was my go-to guy for math issues, right? Like, if I had a math problem I couldn't solve, like, I'd go to Travis, and Travis would be there either every Monday or every Wednesday in JPJ, at the back of the facility, just helping students with their math. So, and he's a great resource. So, I mean, like, that's just an example of, you know, if I had known that Travis existed in September rather than just meeting him in November, my understanding of calculus might have been much better, and I might have been able to get past that. Now, I don't know if I would have gotten to finish the econ major to begin with, because it's very difficult at UVA, very selective program. So that was just step one, but who knows, right?
Well, you had a disadvantage because you came in with less credits that you thought you're going to come in, right? So just that, you know, transferring credits is never an easy thing. But like you proved so many times over and over, you could be very successful if it's in anything, as long as you have a good teammates or good people to help you, right? Tutors. So it goes a long way. Continue to do what you're doing. You're going to be exceptionally successful in anything. As you were mentally, you were physically very strong as well. So people always ask, like, why guys do so many squats? You know, why is Pobo so strong? Tell us a little bit. How much did you actually lift?
Oh man, yeah. I was an animal in the weight room. I was for a second.
All right. So in the weight room, how strong were you?
I was really I was really strong. What was my squat max was?
We did 320 for one.
310?
Yeah, 320.
310.
310. Yeah.
It was 310. 310 for one. Greg Thompson commented. He called me sick for how fast the bar moved. So 310 for one.
22
bench
years
press.
Old, 23 years old. Yeah.
22 years old. It's so much.
That's very important to mention too.
Yeah.
23 years old. Yeah.
So bench press set a new bench PR in the fall last year. Was it 237? 237 kilos. That's 520 even. So my bench press is still strong. Incline bench press, 484. I take pride in that, because that might be some of the biggest incline bench presses in the world for a thrower. I don't think there's a whole lot of people who can incline press.
I remember doing one when you were doing 190 for reps. I'm like, the sky's the limit. Like, I'm gonna spot him first of all. I can't drop it. We're screwed. No, we had 3 people around you, but still, that was good. That incline was your most. Everything is impressive, and people, like I said, they ask me, like, why is Pobo squatting that much? We will squat only once in a week, sometimes even once in 2 weeks, right? Yeah,
exactly. I think, once it got to the spring, we didn't squat, as much in the, maybe once for the back squat. I think maybe once for the front squat. Well, not sure. Now there was one cycle in the fall that was brutal. Yes. Where where it was a front squat or back squat Monday, safety bar squat Tuesday, and then like either front squat or half quarter squat on Friday. It was insane. But the weight wasn't that high. The volume was high, so it was manageable. I think one of the most impressive things I've done was deadlift 670. And you know I don't deadlift, so I mean,
never. Like, this is Gilmar hates it to see it.
He couldn't stand it, right? Because he was a deadlift guy, but here comes me, right? Couldn't never deadlift. Said here I just pulled 670 off the ground, right?
And I remember that day there was a crowd of it was a lacrosse or soccer players.
Either lacrosse or soccer.
They were behind like laughing.
So it's crazy because I didn't start lifting heavily until halfway through my senior year of high school. When I threw 18 meters at state championships, that was off of raw strength. I didn't touch a single weight before. Ben Bonhurst comes walking up to me. He's like, yeah, man, how do you train? Like, how much do you lift? I was like, dude, I don't lift, man. Like,
What
he
is
was like,
left?
what?
Yeah.
What is lift? He's like, I was like, oh, I don't lift, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was amazed. He was like, wow,
Yeah.
like, he just finished 4th in the state championship, haven't touched a single barbell in your life. I was like, yep, I don't even know what a barbell is, man. Like, so and the great thing about the inclines, I didn't know how to incline when I got to UVA.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of dumbbell incline work at UConn, but I never did any bench press incline work.
Yeah.
So I remember my first year, I'm just getting killed on the incline. I can't incline bench press. I have no idea how to do it, right? So it's amazing how I went from not being able to incline bench press the right way to then incline bench press and almost 500 pounds. So it's just another interesting story to tell. But.
Well, this shows, and this is again what's more important in life and where you are in life. You could always, and I know I don't believe this. I don't think this. I know this. So belief is something that you're not sure of. I know that you could have been NCAA record holder if you started earlier in high school, and if you went through all training as most 20, 21, 22 meter throwers did, right? So if you have 5 years of quality training instead of, coming to UVA already with some bad habits, right? Not that the coaches before trying to hurt you, but you just, let's say if you were with somebody like Art Venegas in high school, let's say, Joe Kovac coach in Chula Vista, right? If you were with someone like that in high school, and then that person makes you develop your skills, or like Ryan Krauser, his dad.
Yeah,
right?
Krauser, his dad, yeah.
If you had those bases and you come college and you just continue to build up, and so now you're 22 in college, or 21 high, and now you can get sponsorship. You can go to Chula Vista, you can go to Croatia, or get your federation to pay for your expenses. Now we're talking about next 3-4 years of training and throwing 23 meters, right? Like these guys are throwing. Kovac, how old is he, right? 31, 32, right? Now he's the best of.
I don't think he's 30 yet.
Right?
29, 30?
He is 31.
Okay.
He's
31, okay.
90, I think.
Oh, he's born now. Okay, yeah.
Maybe 31. We'll have to double check this. 31, 32. And also Ryan Krauser, right? He's about to hit 30 soon too, right?
No,
he's born
he's
91.
Young.
No, he's born 92.
No, I think he's like 94. He's Phillips year.
He can't be. I don't think he's 94.
Pretty.
I don't think he's 94. Let me see this.
He and Walsh are young. Like Walsh
is 93. 92, December 18, 92. Yeah, so 27 years old is Krauser, right?
Oh, wow. So, okay, never mind. I thought it was.
So, but Krauser, how old was he when he started? Right? He was starting in the basement of his dad. His uncle was a thrower. The whole family is a throwers, right? So I truly believe that I truly believe that you would have a better path, and I know that you would be an NCAA record holder if you started like that. And the fact that you are just reaching your PRs right now, and you're not even 25 years of age when you were lifting 200 kilos in an incline, right? You have, who knows how far you could have thrown, but also you got to realize this is what in life you have to make a decision, right?
That's true.
I'm not looking for career, or my career is going to be throwing, or my career is going to be public policy. Am I going to be next Obama? Right? Or I'm going to continue, because throwing is hard, and it's not as
really
as football, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I think one of the toughest things about it is, when you leave college, right, and you have to do it on your own, right? There's no team anymore, right?
Yeah.
Like you're doing it for yourself, right? And that's the mindset that I'm still trying to get myself into, wrap my head around is like, what team am I throwing for anymore? Like what there's no for and obviously as a pro athlete, the purpose is clear, right? Like the goal is to get you up.
This is your job.
This is my job, right?
But this is your job, right?
But sometimes that gets murky, right? As compared to being a collegiate athlete where the job was to help the team win, right? Like it wasn't about you, right? It was about the team, right? So so that's something that I'm still trying to wrap my head around is now this is about myself, and I've never really thought about myself in terms of throwing. Anytime I was throwing, it's always been in the context of UVA track and field and how helping the team win. So it's something that I'm still grappling with. It's like, how do I navigate that, right? So I think it's very interesting, and I think, and also it makes it even, it's another accountability factor too, right? I remember you mentioned this to Jordan, that when Jordan first graduated college and started throwing professional, it's like there's no team anymore, right? So no one's gonna feel sorry for you if you don't throw far, right? Like that's it, right? Like this is you. So it's really interesting to have to grapple with that, and I think it's fascinating. It's weird, but it's fascinating. So it's intriguing.
I love that you mentioned that. It is so true, and I know when how there's no more team, right? So there's no more team in throwing, and that's exactly why it's so important to build these skills during the college, this education skills, this reaching out skills, working day to day papers, right? Because and even if you are a thrower, let's say you're Ryan Krauser and you live in lavish, right? Quote unquote, right? He's not Usain Bolt. He's not making money. He doesn't have Usain Bolt money, right?
Relative to throwers,
champion. Everybody knows Ryan Krauser, Joe Kovac, Tom Walsh, right? And if it doesn't pay off, let's say you're 40 years old, 45, and you don't have that stack, securities, and you now have to do something else, and you still have to be a teammate, even if individual thrower.
Yep, that's true.
You still have to know how to work with a team, and that's something that is going to hit you hard at some point, some earlier than others. If you're a great athlete, maybe later, and you see so many of these athletes, NFL athletes, right? They lose all their money. They get it back, lose it all. So there are skills that you have to learn that are very helpful to learn in college, not just to throw far or to be very, very good athlete, but also how to work as a team and work with other people, and how to provide to yourself, for your family, right? Now you have to pay your own bills, right? There's no scholarship, we're not paying.
No scholarship.
So
no scholarship. So
yeah.
That's a good point. So I mean that's so important, right? But it is what it is, right? Like it's listen, I like challenges, right? And this is a very interesting challenge, right? So it's when you face challenges that when you come up with innovative solutions, right? So I mean, so so I've never had to be so creative when it came to training, right? Because I didn't have to think about how to be creative when it came to training when I was a college athlete, because I knew that like I wake up in the morning, I go to class, class was at 2, I go to practice. After practice, I go to the weight room, I lift, recover, eat, go home, study, repeat, right? But things change, right? So sometimes it's not as clear cut as that in the real world, right? So you have to come up with creative solutions, right? And so that's the fun part, is having to think about, okay, how am I gonna how am I gonna do this, or okay, like I know that maybe squatting today is not going to be so good, or how to plan your practice schedule, right? And how to be creative. I think one of the interesting challenges is how to get all I can out of practice while not killing myself during the week, right? I think it's very important. So I think being able to utilize the weekends is so important. Not something that I did a whole lot when I was at UVA. Obviously, we always practiced on Saturday. Saturday was important, and every once in a while, like I throw on a Sunday, right? But I never threw on a Saturday and a Sunday in the same weekend, right? So it's coming up with something creative like that, so that if I could throw on Saturday and Sunday, that means I don't have to throw 2 times a week. 2 more times during the week, which means that I can throw Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, give myself some rest in between. And then, build it around that weekend, which is the time in which you're not having to sit in the office and having to, have your back hunched up and typing on stuff, right? So, so I think creativity, it's so, I embrace the challenge, right? Because, I mean, this is how you get more efficient in life, right? And this is how you get creative, right? So, I embrace it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, as you did, and it's like a muscle, right? Like more more pressure you put on your muscles, obviously smartly, so they don't break, right? You're gonna be sore. There's some fibers that are gonna be inflamed, and they're gonna grow. They're gonna get better. Same thing as everything that you do around, and you have to find that balance of rest, like you said, finding times to not to throw, to rest, to heal. and to move on, right? After that,
Yeah.
that you can be fresh and train.
Yeah.
How did your so in terms of injuries, right? How did you deal with those, both physically and mentally? You know.
Oh yeah. So I think it was more mental for me because I never had. Fortunately, I've never suffered an injury that forced me to get surgery.
Hmm.
Although I was always nicked up, I was always available to compete that weekend,
Yeah.
which was very important, right? But these little injuries add up over time, right? So like one day your elbow hurts and then your
Yeah.
elbow keeps hurting. You remember my second year at UVA, and my
Yeah.
wrist and elbow were killing me that year, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it drove me insane, right?
Yeah.
And that was a chronic thing for the entire year.
Yeah.
And there was a point where I was like, I mean, can I even continue to be able to throw? I mean, the
Mhm.
pain is just so much, right? Luckily today, my wrist and my elbow doesn't really bother me that much. Wrist hasn't even bothered me at all a whole lot all year. So it's
Nice.
probably the longest I've gone without having to worry about my wrist in terms
Yeah.
of the pain that's generated that comes from it. Really
Mhm.
throwing pain free now. And
Yeah.
I think honestly, that's probably just a phase that I feel like a lot of throwers have to go through, in which you just have to break the arm in
Mhm.
over a period of time. Like I imagine Joe Kovacs at some point had a year in which his wrist was killing him.
Yeah.
I mean, like
Yeah.
it just happened.
You saw that picture of his
Yeah,
hand, like it looks like it's
yeah, it looks like a
inflated.
balloon, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, like I think that's just the part of the process. But yeah, I mean, like I think one of the things that made it worse was that you still have to be a student, right?
Mhm.
So it feels like the world is falling apart as an athlete, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, oh crap, you feel like you want to give up, but you can't, right? Because you still have an obligation as a student athlete to be the best student you can be.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
so so yeah, so it was really tough to to be able to to think about it and navigate that.
Mhm.
So so it's really difficult, and I'll be the first one to tell you, like
Yeah.
one of the great things about UVA is that we have two great sports psychologists who are there to help you,
Mhm.
deal with a lot of these issues. So, there was my first year, my second year at UVA, like pretty much the entire semester, right?
Mhm.
Like I went in and every Friday I went in and spoke to a sports psychologist about what I was dealing
Mhm.
with. How am I, what can I do to help me
Mhm.
navigate this from a mental aspect? Because training is not just about what happens physically; it's what happens in your head as well, right? If you don't take
Yes.
care of your mind,
Yes.
right, that's very important. And I know there's a lot of, there's a lot of, and I feel like I'm not the only athlete who has to deal with, injuries and having to worry about. And the worst part of my injuries is that I still had to compete, right? Because I was healthy.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I couldn't move, right?
Yeah. 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 It wasn't a season-ending injury.
It wasn't season ending, right? So it's like, okay, like if I can go out there and compete, I'm going to compete, right? Um, but yeah, but it still does. It builds toughness, right?
Mhm.
I mean, because you're not always going to be able to compete at your, at your highest point. You can't compete when you're 100% healthy, right? But if you're able to learn how to compete when you're 75% or 80%, because that's just, I think that's not, that can't be the reality all the time, right? I mean, there's going to be times in which you're going to have to be dealing with fatigue, right? There's going to be
Yeah.
times in which, your wrist and your, back. And the great thing is that there wasn't any other serious injuries that I had to deal with outside of really the wrist and elbow, right?
Mhm.
Every once in a while, like my back would be an issue.
Mhm.
My quads from time to time, but it wasn't something that like I had to like, oh crap, like I can't throw for 2
Yeah.
months.
For a month. Yeah.
Yeah, for a month. Like I was still able to go out and compete. But having to deal with those aches and pains and navigate that's really important. So, but luckily though, we have some good trainers who were able to like, do a good job of like helping me get into shape, and being able to navigate, navigate those issues so that I can be ready to compete. Right. I think it's
Mhm.
another example of a resource you have to lean on is, your athletic trainers who are able to, help you navigate those pains and aches so that you're at your optimal point.
Yeah.
And I think I remember something that you told me way back in 2016. Um, you had talked about how like these little aches and pains are probably just examples of how your body is just going through changes, right?
Mhm.
And that's how like and I think that's exactly probably what's happened with my wrist and my elbow, right?
Yep.
Like I probably went through 2 years of just um
Breaking in.
2 years and 3 years of, because I mean it's not natural to throw a 16-pound ball 2,000 times a
Nope.
year.
Nope.
I mean, so of course your wrists are gonna hurt, right? Your wrist, your elbow, your shoulders are gonna hurt, right? But I feel like once you finally break it in, right, then it's like, okay, like, so now I'm at a point where, the wrist doesn't hurt, as much. The elbow doesn't hurt as much, right? Now I still have other issues that I have to worry about, such as, I have tight hips or stuff like that. But I mean, a lot of throwers have that issue, right? I'm not the only one, right? And there's ways around it, right? I think one of the things I started doing was a lot of vertical mobility again, right? I go to massage therapist 2 times a month, 60 minutes massage, and that helps me kind of gain knowledge on what I need to think about when I'm stretching and when I'm preparing to go out and throw for. So, so one good example that I was talking to my massage therapist about was, hey, like when I run, I've been feeling some tightness along my right quad and my right hip, right? How do I think about that, right? So last week I went out and ran 10 minutes of hell. Before I did that, I made sure to do some hurdle mobility for about half an hour, and realized that so much easier for me to run just because I spent that time just loosening up, the hips and just loosening up so that I can move better. And I told them that when I went to my massage this past Wednesday, I was like, hey, I was struggling to run, but you know what? I loosened up my hips through hurdle mobs, and now I can move much better. So little things like that it's important to be conscious of. So
it's so important to keep those long-term perspectives in mind. And I love that you were, and I even noticed for those guys who are listening now, we do have 2 sports psychologists. We're us as coaches, we cannot even ask you if you went, let alone what did you talk about, right? So I'm very happy that you did that, because that is so important to have a mental trainer, to have a physical trainer. You have a mental trainer. LeBron James still goes to see his sports psychologist, not because he doesn't know what he's going to eat for breakfast, but because he wants to score a couple extra points a game, right? So he wants to be at the top of his game, because that 1% will put you. How far is 1 centimeter at World Championship in shot put? Right?
Quarter of an inch.
Right. one centimeter can make you a world champion or get third. Or 2 centimeters, if you're an inch, you don't get a medal, right? So that mental preparation, that little bit of extra mental strength that you have can mean, all the glory of Joe Kovac. And Walsh is like, what just happened? I just threw 22.90.
Poor Romani
in third. What is going on, right? I'm not saying that Walsh didn't go see sports.
I'm sure he did everything. But no, that's just. I mean, you get to that level of competition. I mean, it's just a matter of. I mean, there's the Krauser, Walsh, and Kovacs were both prepared to throw far, right? So I guess I don't know. The question is, what's happening in the brain at that point, right?
Exactly. And Ryan missed it.
Yeah, he missed it. He missed it
to the right side, right? Like he usually throws to the left side when he throws the furthest. So maybe if he had more, a couple extra moments to take a breath.
We're just speculating, right? We don't know, right? But
who do you think is going to break the world record first?
Oh crap!
I can ask you this because you have experience in throwing. You're obviously one of the. Again, I'm going to mention one of the best throwers in UVA of all time. Pobo threw over 20 meters quite a few times. Who do you think is going to throw 23 first?
Man, that's such a good question. Oh man, God, I could make a case for all 3, right? Krauser is super consistent, right? So Krauser's going to walk it to me, throw at least 22-30. So he's really consistent. Walsh is just an animal, right? Like he's gonna, he's always in good shape. Kovacs is. Everybody knows that Kovacs is good, but he could come off as a dark horse sometimes, right? Like for that entire competition last year, like where was Kovacs until the last throw?
the last throw.
So
kind of hanging there, like
he's hanging there, like hey, I'm here, like I'm in 6th place. 42.91, right? So, that's a good question. I'm gonna go with Krauser, right? Because I think he's just. I mean that 22.90 that he missed at the World Championship.
Yeah.
That could have been 20, well over 23. So I think he's probably the guy that's. I mean, if you look at that championship, I mean, he threw just as far as the other two guys, but he missed it, right?
Yeah.
Then Walsh got everything out of that 2290. Kovacs got everything out of that 2290.
Yeah.
So when I look at who has more room to improve to be able to get to 23, like Krauser's obviously the first guy that I can think of, is because I know that he threw that far, but clearly missed the ball, and that's what everybody's saying. It's like, okay, like if he stayed on the shot a little bit longer, that would have been a 23 plus throw. But I don't know. I always have a formula about world championships, and I would always say that one, I love Walsh because he's usually the most prepared. And it's just a matter of who else is going to throw far that day, right? If no one else throws far, Walsh will win. If Krauser and Kovacs show up, then Walsh will finish second or third, right? And then Krauser's just amazing, and then Kovacs never gave up on Kovacs, man. Like he's.
And how about Darlan Romani?
I was rewatching it. I was rewatching it.
This is how crazy shot put is right now. We are not even. The guy throws further than anybody ever thrown in major championships, right? He'll be Olympic record holder if you threw that Olympics and world championship record as well, right? 22:58. What you threw?
22:53, 22:52, something like that.
And then he gets fourth.
He gets fourth.
And he threw 22:60 in Diamond League. He beat everybody in Eugene at Palo Alto, right?
Yeah, Palo
I
Alto.
don't know. Like, who's the next kid though? Like, there's so many kids behind. Philip is coming up. He's growing into his weight.
I'm telling you, Coach. Watch Philip. That's all I'm saying. Watch Philip. I'll watch his.
He's not even 28, 29 years old, Philip. Right? So Philip has a little bit more growing to do. Yeah. Like I said, this is the reason I said I know that you would be NCAA record holder if you started earlier, and I know that you would throw even further in professional career because you're not even close to your 30 either.
Yeah.
This is where the big throws come, right? When you pushing against, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. I would say 28 to 32. That's the shot putters and discus throwers, hammer throwers even a little later. That's their peak, right? Yeah. Depending on body to body, obviously, depending on what you did in the childhood, obviously. But those guys, I think Kovac is in a peak. Kovac had a 24-30 foul a few years back. Remember that?
I remember that. 2014.
So I don't know if he's in peak or I don't know what's going on. He's just wanted 800 pounds.
Yeah,
how many pounds was that?
720, 730, 750, something like that for
10. And he was like, okay.
Yeah. Okay, what's next?
He's like, he could have done 20. I don't know. He was higher, but not. He could have done a couple more too.
Yeah, it's incredible watching Joe. The shot putting is just so tough. I can't even make it.
I can't bet. I can't bet. Know what's going to happen.
I have no idea. And I know that the world record is going to get broken.
I think Chuck can throw. He can chuck it also over 22. Obviously, Philip is there. How about Bukowiecki?
Bukowiecki, like another guy.
I think he still has another 5 years until he peaks.
Yeah,
or
he's still young. 97.
baby.
97.
You have Haratik. You have Stanek.
Stoll still there?
A couple more 22-meter guys. I mean, this is insane. The time we're living. How many people throw 22?
Stoll still throwing.
Yep.
He can still throw 2180. 2190, maybe 22. So,
I think if David Storr, I've been joking with this a little bit, but not really. What do you think if David Storr would go rotational?
First year will be 18 meters. Wait. First year will be 18 meters. And then you'll see by year 3, I mean, he'll be throwing 22.
Yeah.
If there was a glider from Spain way back in the day, in like the early mid 2000s.
Okay.
It was a glider and switched to the rotational, right? And I think he threw okay, So like,
how about we'll talk about these days, guy from Luxembourg, Bob.
Bob
was a glider.
Yeah, Bob Berg. Yeah,
2090 or 20, and now he threw 22 something.
So we forgot about Bob completely. I'm just saying, like, just because, like it's going to take time having to go from glide to rotational, right? But Bob is a perfect example, right? So it's interesting. I think, I think the world of shot putting is insane. I think one of the interesting things that I always talk about, always joke around with people is I mean, what will the USA Championships look like next year?
Exactly. Look at Darrell Hill. We're not even Darrell is the guy that I thought he's going to throw a world record. I still think he can throw a world record. I think he took a year off. He's like, okay, you guys go ahead.
You guys go ahead, right? I mean, 6
But
throws
I'm
over
going to come
22
up.
meters.
22-40, what he threw.
Come on. You know, like
he has so much in the tank too. He can be a world. I think he can throw. I don't know if he's going to be the first one, but I know that he can throw 23 meters.
Yeah.
U.S. Championships. Look at it.
U.S. Championships, right? You think about all of the athletes that are going to be there competing at the U.S. Championships, right? You got Kovacs, you got Krauser, you got Darrell Hill. I think you got to think about the college guys: Oderdahl, Perry, Litzkowitz. Litzkowitz. Oderdahl's little brother, who threw 20 meters earlier this season. Turner Washington, Jordan Geist. I mean,
we're not even scratching the surface with this.
Pazio. I mean, the list goes on and the list goes on and on.
The guys can throw 70 feet, right?
What?
A list of the guys that can throw over 70 feet.
Over 70 feet. I mean, so like you think about the potential for. I mean, talk about worlds. I mean, like and Olympics. I mean, sure, we get that. I mean, USA's. I mean, that's going to be the preliminary fireworks for the Olympics. I mean, because, I mean, what will you have to throw just to make the team?
To make the team, you got to be, best shape of your life. That's the crazy thing about trials. I think trials should be like 3 weeks before the Olympics.
Yeah.
For those guys, because if you, I mean, obviously there's different reasons why you cannot do it, but I think the best would be if the trials will be couple of weeks before Olympics, because then all the U.S. throwers will come to the World Championships ready. Even though this was amazing, again, not the fact that so many people threw so far at the World Championship in Doha, and it was also the fact that it was so late. October.
Yeah, think about Walsh. Walsh was throwing since January.
He's like, I've been peaking for 4 years. I mean, I don't know. I got Commonwealth Games. I have World Championships, and then I have Australian or New Zealand Championships, which is in February and March, and then you have World Championships in December. Like, he doesn't even know what time zone or what time of the year, what season it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point, right? Like it's, you have a guy who's been competing so long. Like it's incredible. So, I mean, I just think that and the U.S. scene in the shot put is just insane. I mean, there's so many good throws at the collegiate level. I mean, I always talk about Turner Washington. It's like one of the guys to follow because he's a guy who can go hot or cold, right? Like he will throw 19 one week and then he'll throw like 21 the next week. I don't know, right? He's predictable, right? And Pippery is so consistent. There's just so many good throwers and and there's so many good throws in the U.S. and there's so many good throws in the world. I think this is a really great time for shot putting in general. I mean, it's literally a renaissance of just so much, so much athleticism that's being brought into the sport. And man, even the future of the sport is so bright. We have 3 20-meter throwers, and I even mentioned McKay Johnson from California, another guy, right? It's just another guy, right? There's more names, I mean, even in Nigeria, right, where I talk about how it's getting tough. Where you got Chuck, you got Datun from UCLA thrower.
Yeah.
You got me. You got another guy who's from another UCLA thrower who threw 1950 as a freshman last year. He's on a football. Tito. He's on the football team, right?
Yeah.
Football team at UCLA. So I mean, like, there's so many good athletes in a lot of different countries around right now in the shot put. It's just amazing.
It's exciting.
The talent that's available. So, and it's crazy because I have to compete, right? So I didn't even have the chance to be a spectator yet.
We were with them.
I'm with them, right?
That's also one of the greatest things that you guys did. You threw with these guys during their in their beginning to reach their peak and during their primes. You threw here with Joe Kovac. Remember in 2019, he was fouling over 23 and a half. Before he went on to World Championships.
That's true.
And we were witnessing that, right? So that's incredible. What a time to be alive, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. So, it's just an amazing time for shot putting and even for discus too. I mean, good God. I mean, the discus is amazing with Dakers and Stahl and I was watching some Stahl footage of how he fouled that 72.50 or 72.80 a couple of years ago. I mean, it's insane. So
Oh,
I love
world
what
record
throwing.
is
Yeah.
shaking in shot and discus.
Yeah.
My favorite guy is Frederick
Yeah.
because he has such a smooth technique and
Yes.
he's a great person as well. He did lose to Philip in pen relays
Yeah, he did.
that one time. However,
Oh,
he is obviously, like I said, one of my favorite throwers in discus. I think he's because so smooth, great person, great coaches.
yeah.
Daniel Stahl, I don't know how far he can throw. He
Yeah,
can
me
throw 80
either.
meters. I don't know. Like he can whip it. He has albatross arms. He's enormous.
Yeah,
He's enormous. He's 6'8", 6'9".
6'7", 6'8", 300, something
So
like that.
yeah, and then his arm span is 200. We measure 7'2".
Wow.
So 7'2" is his arm span, and he's strong as how many times? 5 times 350.
Something like that. It's insane.
It's just so exciting
Yeah.
to witness this firsthand, and obviously, like I said, you guys having these guys as your friends too, right? So when they see you, you know them by name, you threw with them. And they're friends from all over the world, and it's such a unique time to be. We talked about this with one other coach. People are so much friendlier these days. Those throwers in the teams that you talk to all the throwers from different schools, right? When you were competing, they were cheering for you. You were cheering for them.
Yeah.
That wasn't quite the case. I would say a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I mean, like Nick Ponzio, for example. He's a New York Giants fan, so he and I DM'd him a couple last weekend during the draft and just like kind of picked his brain about what he thought of the Giants. So I remember in college, I actually sent him I sent the message to Maggie, asking Maggie about like how she would wrap her wrist, just like kind of like. So I think one of the great things I love about the throwing community is that everybody's always learning from each other, right? Everybody's always picking each other's brains, right? And it's not like I'll ever get a bad response from anyone.
Yeah.
We're willing to learn from each other. So I'm willing. If I don't know something, like I will be more than happy to go and pick Maggie Ewan's brain about something, or talk to Ponzio about something, or talk to any other thrower about something. So it's always. I think that's one of the great things that I love about the throwing community in general is that we're all super friendly. We all know each other. We all want each other to do well. And we're all willing to share knowledge and progress the sport, right? So it's kind of like going back to what I've been talking about, team, right? Like we're all, we're all competing against each other, but we're all working as a team to move the sport forward. Shop it.
Exactly, move the sport forward. Everybody benefits from it, and that's one of the reasons why I'm having this podcast is to bring your guys' experiences to those who are struggling with some things that they can avoid doing them, and then make some obstacles a little shorter. Go through the life easier and make it better, and then we can see many 23-meter shot putters, 75-meter discus throwers. And like I said, I love the fact that culture. There's no other way. You have to help each other, regardless of what team you are in terms of college team, right, or whose country you're throwing for. If we want to make this sport survive, not a couple of hundreds of years or not a couple of decades, we have to stick together, because if it wasn't for you, it wouldn't be for that guy who got second, third, and you would not be first if there wasn't a second, third guy, right? So you all, even though you win, they're still there, and you have to be appreciative because they're there for you and you're there for them, right?
Yeah, for sure.
If nobody was throwing, we would not be talking right now.
Yeah,
nobody would know about Pobo's show.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If there wasn't for everybody else who are in it. So we have to appreciate our competition, right?
Yeah.
And those quote unquote small players in it, right?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. It's a beautiful thing.
Talking about not being able to win, will you think Giants will ever win a Super Bowl ever again?
Well, I think so.
I'm just
I know I think first of all, I think the Giants, they have a lot of good offensive pieces, right? So they got obviously they found their quarterback of the future, Daniel Jones. They got Saquon Barkley. You know how strong Saquon is, right? He puts his foot on the ground and turns, it's over, right?
Yeah.
And they got some good wide receivers and a good tight end in Evan Ingram. So I think offensively the Giants will be a lot better. I still think they're going to have a bad record just because the defense is terrible.
Okay.
I don't think they've done a whole lot to address the defense this offseason.
Yeah.
But listen, the Giants.
So defense is what they have to work on.
Yeah, defense will be the weak
again.
But the Giants, I'm blessed to have witnessed 2 Super Bowls as a kid. You know, the
Mm,
Giants winning
okay.
2007 and 2011,
Yeah.
both against the Patriots, who I can't stand.
I was, I'm waiting to ask you another question. Yeah. Go
I
ahead.
can't stand the Patriots. Um, you know, but you know, so right now I'm just kind of in a holding pattern with the Giants, right? Whatever the Giants do, I just hope they'll be a little bit better. Mainly, I'm concerned about just the progression of the team because
Yeah.
we're not going to compete for anything anytime soon. But you know, if we can be good, you know, I think the big concern is, well, you got to win something before you have to think about paying Daniel Jones or paying Saquon Barkley, right? Because these guys are Saquon Barkley's 2 years into 2 years. Yeah, I think so. 2 years into the NFL.
Yeah.
It's not going to be long before his rookie contract is over. And they
Yeah.
have to think about, well, do I get another running back or do I pay the guy, right?
Mm,
And if you're going to pay him $14, $15 million a year, that's a lot of money.
yeah.
So, and we've seen running backs in history of them getting paid that much money and them not being able to perform well. So it's a serious question that the Giants have to think about.
Yeah.
You know, in the future is okay. Like, can we put together a good enough roster to contend
Mm,
for a championship before we have to start paying these guys, or before we have to think about blowing it all up and starting it
yeah.
all over again?
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. So we'll see.
What do Jets need to be competitive?
Oh, that's a good question. I really don't follow the Jets a whole lot, but they
Yeah.
got some. What I've heard is that they drafted some wide receivers, so that would be a
Okay.
little bit of help for Sam Darnold. It'll be Darnold and Gase's second year working together. So I think that they'll be, well. First of all, let me put this in context. The Jets went 6-10 or 7-9 last year, something like that.
Okay.
And Darnold missed like 6 games with mono, right? So,
Okay. Okay.
so
Okay.
I mean, the Jets roster, the Jets going to be, I think, much better this year. I
They're
don't know if they'll
solid.
win the
Okay.
division, but I could see them going 7-9 or 8-8, maybe 9-7. You know, I think it's just repetitions at this point. I know that they think they have a pretty solid defense, and they're helping Darnold out on the offense as well. So
Okay.
we'll see what happens with
It'll,
that.
it'll be worth watching their games then.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
One more question about NFL before we move on. Brittany Jones, obviously, she's a big fan of Patriots. What would you? What kind of message do you have to send to her, or opinion about Tom Brady leaving?
Um, yeah, well, I don't know. Tom Brady's. I guess no one can say.
Does he have more gunpowder in him that can he produce?
I think the Buccaneers are doing a good job of helping him out, right? So he's got a lot of good. He's got 2 of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. So I think that's probably the best set of wide receivers he's going to have in a long time. Gronkowski came out of retirement. He's in Tampa now. They drafted one of the 2 best offensive linemen to protect him. So I mean, they're building. They have all the pieces to be good.
Okay.
I don't know what Brady's going to do. I mean, that's another question, right? He's still got to throw the football. But with the talent that he has around him, I wouldn't be surprised if the the Buccaneers, they win enough games and find a way to get into the playoffs. I still don't think they're the best team in their division. I think the Saints are much better than them. But I think I think the Buccaneers can be a playoff team next year. And
so if you're this is my I don't know much about football as I do basketball or track. If you're a football fan for Patriots, do you still cheer against them? Are you still Tom Brady's fan? Like, well, how does that? Do you hate him now? Can you hate him?
Question. I don't hate Brady. I mean, well, I do hate. Well, not really. No.
I take that back. I do.
take that back.
In a good way. In a good way, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, Brady, he's such a competitor, right? Like and that's something as an athlete, that's something that I admire, right? I admire his competitive nature, right?
Yeah.
I just can't stand that New England won all the time. If you're a Patriots fan, you have to be thankful for what he's done.
Yes.
He's a 6th-round draft pick who came into your organization and won 6 Super Bowls, and for 20 years you've always won the division, right? Except for 1 year that Brady got hurt, right? So if you're a Patriots fan, how can you hate the guy? You have to be thankful for what he's done, and you just have to wish him success. And I don't know what the Patriots are going to do this year. We'll have to see. But if you're a Patriots fan, you have to be thankful for someone who dedicated 20 years of their career to your organization and has delivered you 6 Super Bowls. Because the reality is that, I mean, were the Patriots that good before? I mean, they were pretty good when they had Drew Bledsoe, right? But were the Patriots that relevant of a franchise like before Brady got there? And I don't know, because I'm not, I have been around for a long time. I don't know what the Patriots were like in the 1980s.
Yeah.
But now they are. So like, I guess the question is, if you're a Patriots fan, this is why I always bang on Brittany, right? Because she's been so blessed to have such a great team for all of her life, right? And at some point, I keep warning her, I was like, this can't go on forever.
Yeah. This too shall pass.
This is not something that happens all the time. So if there's 20 years in which your organization was good, there's going to be at least 15 in which is going to be bad, right?
Yeah.
Now, at some point in your life, right, this just cannot happen, right? At least with the Giants, they'll be bad for 3 years.
Oh, well, it's lasting, right?
Make the playoffs. So like, well, that's how a lot of teams work. But the Patriots, to be so good for so long, I'm like, it takes an unparalleled amount of luck.
Yeah.
And there's no way in the world that this franchise, I mean, Kraft is old, right? Belichick, I mean, he's 67 or 68. I imagine he's going to retire at some point. So the pieces to the puzzle that made that organization so good are not going to be around for a long time.
Yeah.
Right. So what are you going to do when you're 35 years old and the Patriots are 1-15 because they have new ownership and new coach, right? And then if you're a Patriots fan, growing up witnessing how good Brady is.
Yes.
Like, how will it feel when the Patriots go on this long stint where they're really bad? So that's what I'm waiting for. So I'm waiting for that 10-year period where the Patriots just suck.
I think that's a joke on the side, but that's a very big part of growing up, right? Like you're born into this, like, oh, of course, Patriots going to winning all the time. Chicago Bulls, right? You have to have the downtime
today
to build you strong, right? You have to endure some losing.
Yeah, you got to endure
make you a better person.
Like, come on, like I've done my fair share of losing with the Giants, right? But it's okay, right? That's why I make it. But it's almost as if they take almost as if these divisions are for granted in New England, right?
Yeah.
And it's these Super Bowls, right? And there will be a day in which the Patriots will barely struggle to win 5 games in a year, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm waiting for, is how will these Patriots fans react when the Patriots are no longer as good as they were when they were growing up as a kid.
Because they're not expected to win, right?
But I am conditioned for my Giants to be bad. Because they've been bad most of my childhood, right? So I don't have my hopes up, right? Because I grew up, the Giants weren't the greatest, right? They got a couple Super Bowls here and there, but for the most part, the mediocrity, right?
You appreciate your wins way more.
I appreciate them way more, right? And I understand the team more, right? So I'm intrigued. How will Patriots fans respond, when the Patriots go 5-10 years without winning anything? That's what I'm intrigued to see about.
Yeah, no, I'm interested to see that as well. Obviously, Pobo, you know so much about sports. You were not just track. Obviously, you grew up in New York, big sports city. What? And you're doing a great job with your show as well, showing your knowledge and your insights. What do you think? One more question before I let you go. In your mind, what are some top of all time, top of the athletes from any sports that come to your mind? What are some incredible athletes in world history?
In the world, or just in New York?
Any sport.
Any sport.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'll start off with Usain Bolt.
Okay.
The greatest sprinter of all time, without a doubt. In my opinion, he's brought so much energy to the sport, and he's just exciting to watch. So Usain Bolt. I think Michael Jordan and LeBron James. I'll group those two together.
Okay.
I think I'm learning a lot more about Michael Jordan now because of the Last Dance documentary, which is really, really good.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet. Is it good?
It's really good. It chronicles the last year of the Bulls in 97-98 season. And it's just incredible.
It's worth watching. All right. I'll put it
so I'm learning more about Michael Jordan and his competitive nature. His drive, his will to win. Right. He wasn't about let's tank to get a draft pick. No, he was like, we're gonna win this. We're gonna win this game. We're gonna do the best we can to win this game. We're gonna go out and win, right? LeBron James, I admire his the way he's taken care of his body and the way he's been such a dominant athlete in the NBA for the last, when
20 years, 15, whatever he's been playing from the first day he stepped on court.
Yeah, he came into the league in 2003 or 2004, and he's been like amazing for 17, 18 years. And it's impressive that he's 34, 35 years old, and a lot of people in the league still regard him as the best player in the NBA and the best player in the world. So I think I'll definitely put LeBron James on that pedestal. I'm trying to think of like some baseball.
How about female athletes?
Serena Williams is my favorite. What she's done for the sport of women's tennis what she's done for women's tennis has just been incredible. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really follow a whole lot of women's sports a lot. What I will say though is that there is one of my favorite female thrower on the circuit right now is Deanna Price. I love her energy. I love the passion she brings to the ring. And the hard work and the dedication, and she throws far, and she's amazing at it, right? And I just love her intensity, right? So I love watching Deanna Price throw. I love following how she's doing. I was so happy when she won the world championship.
She's very motivational. She's very encouraging.
Very motivational, very encouraging, very sweet. She's a very nice person. So Deanna Price, Michelle Carter, obviously the first American to win the women's shot put. I think that's really that's a really incredible thing to have to mention as well. So I'm really excited for. I think the women's throwing on the USA side is going to be really interesting over the next couple of years. There's so many good hammer throws in the U.S. There's so many good shot putters. Like Maggie Ewan, Chase Ely. Raven Saunders. I mean, there's just, the list goes on and on and on. And then on the hammer side, you got Maggie, Brooke Anderson, Gwen Berry still throwing at a high level. And Gwen Berry is another athlete. She reminds me of Jade because I don't think she was a hammer thrower when she first started.
Really? I don't know her history. So. I know she's thrown far.
I know she's thrown far, but I think where does she?
She's not the tallest person there. That's for sure.
Not. Where does she? She threw at she threw at Southern Illinois. Was where she threw at? I can't remember. But I read something now. I don't think she was a hammer thrower by trade. She might have been a jumper, something like that. And she came in. She's a world record holder in weight, is she? Or she was? I think so. 20. Yeah, it's either her or Deanna. I can't remember. Okay. But Gwen threw something ridiculous, like 25 something.
Yeah, I think she was. If not still, I think she's still a world record holder.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think if there's any other female. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of inspirational female athletes in women's basketball who are pushing the game forward there. Obviously, women's soccer. That's so important.
Who was your favorite athletes from UVA? I'll leave you this because I know you got to work. You're a working man. Last question before I let you go. At UVA, except track, who are some of your favorite athletes, either of all time or athletes that you have met on both women and men's side?
Well, that's a good question.
Because you were here during the NCAA historic.
I was here during some. Yeah, I was here doing some good.
How was that? Let's go back to that moment. How did you feel? How did you feel? And I saw the video when the buzzer said 0 and we were NCAA champions in basketball.
I cried. I couldn't believe it. I was literally tearing up. And Thelma and Brittany were there. Like I was crying. Yeah. Like it was just an amazing moment. And I wasn't crying because of me or because of the team. I was crying because of all of the people who live in Charlottesville who've been waiting for this moment for 30, 40, 50 years to happen. Right? And the team has come so close with so many times, right? When they got to the Final Four back in the 80s, right? Yeah. During the Ralph Sampson years.
Yep.
And they couldn't win, right? These people have been waiting. I sat in front of elderly folks, and they were waiting for so long, their entire lives, to see this happen. And I cried for them. I cried for the city of Charlottesville because there's no guarantee when it's going to happen again, right? We don't know when it's going to happen again. It's such a special moment. But I got to witness, something special like that happen. And I can tell my kids, that, hey, when I was in college, I saw UVA win a national championship.
Yeah.
So
And you know those guys. You were eating at dining hall with them. You were taking classes with them, right?
Yeah, Mamadi is a character. I mean, he
Yeah.
knows. I impersonated him at the Who's Choice Awards last year.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. When he hosted, yep.
So he's a character. I mean, Jay Huff is just another great guy as well. I'm trying to think of. I know Malcolm Brogdon got his MPP at the batting school. So it's just another testament to how these athletes are. They're not only exceptional on the court, but they're also exceptional, in class as well, which is really important. So yeah, like I'm it's amazing. I think probably the one athlete that I really appreciate the most is Bryce Perkins, right? I mean, this is a guy who suffered a lot of injuries, before he came to UVA, and he had a lot that was asked of him when he came here, right? We're rebuilding the program, and we're asking you to help as the quarterback. Your job is to lead us to this new era of UVA football. And sometimes I was angry, right? Like he made some dumb passes, right, or whatever it is, right? But you know what? I think one of the things that I appreciated was the fact that he was a nice guy, never had any bad interaction with him.
Nice.
At the same, and he also worked hard, right? And that showed in his game, right? Because I thought that UVA was going to get better because Bryce Perkins was going to get better, and he did, and he was just incredible, for UVA football this year. It was just amazing watching him progress and watching him become a better football player and watching him become a team leader. I felt like he really put the program, on his back, and put the city of Charlottesville on his back, and led us to this new. To what we're entering as a new era of Virginia football. And then you look at all these recruits that are starting to fall in. I mean, every day I look, Virginia lands 4-star recruit this person transferred to Virginia, 5-star this, 4. I'm like, wow, it's crazy, man.
The wave is coming,
The wave is coming, right? Like you look at I think UVA had the 29th best recruiting class in the country this year, which is incredible, right? Like, I've never seen us recruit that well. So this is just, he played a big role in turning this around. So, I give a lot of credit to him, and I think he should go down as probably one of the best athletes of all time in UVA, just because of what he did. What
changed the program basically, right?
What his impact on the program. And that's important. And sure, maybe you can find better athletes who perform better than him across other sports, but football is such a high-profile sport in the NCAA, and to change around a program that we couldn't beat Virginia Tech for 15 years, right?
Yeah.
And he was the one who led us, to be able to do that. So, so it's not about his talent, but it's about his impact on the program and the entire athletic department as a whole, right? So that's why I put him up there as well. So.
No, and Pobo, you're a part of. I agree with you on all those counts, and you were part of it as well during your time, your era here. I know football players will look up to you like, damn, he's so strong. We gotta step it up.
Micah Kaiser, who's with the Rams now, once walked up to me and once asked me how I got big forearms, and I was like, I don't know, dude. Like, I have no idea. It just happened, right?
Throw a 16-pound shot.
So it's tough. I try.
I want to thank you, Pobo, and I thank you so many times, and I'm going to continue to do that for what you have done for this program, for me, for your teammates. You were a crucial part of this. You made us better. You did not leave weight room. We did not leave weight room without you making us feel better, because every time you would come in, you would come with energy, regardless how many classes you had, how many exams you had. You were always bringing energy up. You were making your teammates better, motivated them, making them feel better about themselves, and giving good advice, always positive. Pobo, I'm grateful to you, and you made me a better person. And I hope we can do this more often.
Yeah, absolutely. This was awesome. Yeah, for sure. I really appreciate it. And maybe next time you come on the Pobo show, we could talk about, just the world of track and field and NCAA athletics and stuff like that.
When track opens out, we can talk more. Who's going to break the world record? And,
for sure. So I really appreciate it, Coach. You've been so instrumental in my success as not only an athlete but as a person as well. Having someone who was just not wasn't just like an athlete, because everybody knows you won an NCAA 2009 in the discus. I mean, you were a very exceptional athlete, but someone who studied well, right? Remember all the stories you told me about how you had to study for your master's degree while you were coaching Jordan and Phillip, right? And you got to study with Jordan, right? At the same at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so it's not often that you're going to be able to run into people like that, who have the drive to make themselves better and to make the people around them better. And I'm very happy that UVA has you as a coach. There's I don't think there's any coach in NCAA is better as good as you. Like, you are the best. And I really appreciate it. And we did a lot of great things. And I'm so excited for the athletes that are there now, because I know they're going to be able to succeed. And I'm excited. And I'll always be a who. You know me, Coach. Like, I'm only 2 hours away.
Yep.
I'm only down the road. Literally, I drive to Route 29, and that's it. Right?
Yeah.
So like I'm always going to be there. If UVA ever needs anything from me, I'm always willing to step in and help. So,
well, it was mutual, Pobo. You gave a lot to us, and hopefully, you got something out of it as well. But we know we benefited a lot. We are always grateful, and these guys need to see you too. So do stop by and show them how to deadlift and squat, because
for sure.
they need to eat more a little bit as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I can help out with that. So
awesome, Pobo. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Best of luck,
Coach. You take care. All right.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.